Get set Portsmouth. Barclays is serving up an ace in your local park. We've teamed up with the LTA to bring you free tennis sessions because we believe tennis is for everyone. So next weekend, you could be playing tennis absolutely free. Anyone can play with access to courts, coaching and equipment provided. There's a session near you in Havant. Search Barclays Free Park Tennis to register and sign up. Barclays, here for every goal.
It's a busy day in Admouth. The Admiral bumps into Joe Jenkins in the supermarket.
Is everything okay?
Well, got up at 6 a.m, showered, fed the cat, fed the dog, fed the kids, did the school run, the vet run and went on a run, drive to work, charged my car and charged to lunch, searched for new cars, used cars and tried to sell the old car, popped over to the flat and had tea with the tenant, sorted out the leak and picked up leaks for dinner, and now I need to find insurance.
And breathe.
Oh.
Take it easy and insure everything in one place with Admiral Multi-Cover and more. Admiral Insurance, always looking out for you.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast.
With Lucas Volvo. Looking to sell your Volvo? Contact them today for a no-obligation quotation.
It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard as the Premiership returns after a League Cup break. Rangers are at Hampden, possibly for the final time in the league as Ross County visit. Hibs could be doing with a win against Dundee, and there's Dundee United against St Johnstone, as well as lower league action. 3 big games tomorrow, including St Mirren via Celtic team likely to be without Brighton-bound Matt O'Reilly. I'm Gordon Duncan, and joining me you have Gordon DL, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins.
And what a weekend of high intrigue on and off the park, all tied into that transfer window. Philippe Clement says he can't get new players in until he gets the rejects out, but no sign of movement on that front. However, today he could play Gordon DL with his new golf hat and Mark Wilson and still beat Ross County, who are a disgrace.
I thought you were going to say speaking of rejects.
No. And then Celtic tomorrow. Matt O'Reilly is as good as a Brighton player. Kyogo Furuhashi, what does the immediate future hold? What kind of team will the manager be able to put out against St Mirren tomorrow? For me, Brendan Rodgers is beginning to look tetchy, but all part of the intrigue.
It's a weekend ahead with the fixtures split across Saturday and Sunday. Good fixtures as well, but I agree with Hugh. I think Rangers, for all their troubles and stumbling this season, Ross County are a bad bunch at the minute, so they've got to really fancy themselves at Hampden this afternoon. I'm looking at Hibs versus Dundee. How crucial a game is it at Easter Road for Hibs early on in the season? Dundee playing well, they are one of the last teams you'd want to face. And then when you look down the leagues in the Championship, as usual, always good fixtures. It's really competitive in that league.
Like the boys said, looking forward to it, Gordon. I think we'll get plenty of goals this afternoon. A lot of good fixtures, and then on to tomorrow. And all eyes will be focused on Celtic to see if Matt O'Reilly's still a Celtic player.
Yes, we are here until 6 o'clock this evening, so settle down, do what you have to do, make yourselves comfortable. You can stay in touch all day at Clyde SSB on Twitter. As always, I will give you the nod when it's time to have your say on the phones. I'm sure we'll have plenty of action on the field. There's usually a bit of drama and controversy. We've got the transfer window, which is having huge impact on Scottish football headlines this morning. And as usual, we'll be looking for you to get involved throughout the day as well. So without further ado, let's go to the National Stadium. Maybe, just maybe, if you look at that calendar, the final time that Rangers will play a home league game there. Maybe not though. We've come to expect the unexpected with that situation. But let's go to Gabriel ahead of Rangers against Ross County.
Yes, Gordon, as you say, Rangers hoping this is the last league game they have to play here before a return to their beloved Ibrox. It's their 4th game in a row at Hampden. We're expecting a bigger crowd today than last week when the National Stadium was less than half full for the 2-0 win over St Johnstone in the League Cup. It was quite a lacklustre display that day. Fans will want to see more intent from the off when 3 o'clock comes. Let's look at the teams then. Philippe Clement makes 4 changes from last weekend. A centre-half Robin Propper is not risked with one eye on next week. Of course, that huge opening Old Firm of the season. Mohamed Diomande is dropped to the bench, perhaps the most interesting call from the Belgian, whilst Danilo and Kieran Dowell are also amongst the substitutes. Unsurprisingly, Connor Barron comes back into midfield. He's been Rangers' best player so far this campaign. Leon Balogun, Tom Lawrence and Cyril Dessers also get the nod from the off. So the 11 is as follows. It's Jack Butland in goal, a defence of James Tavernier, John Suter, Leon Balogun and Jefte. Connor Barron and Dujon Sterling, who's playing with a wrist problem, will be at the base of midfield, with Tom Lawrence just in front of them. It's Václav Černý on the right wing, Rabbi Matondo on the left, and Cyril Dessers leads the line. Substitutes: Kelly, Diomande, Dowell, Danilo, King, McCausland, Fraser, McKinnon and Rice. And as Hugh touched on at the top there, Ben Davies, Yanis Hadji and Todd Cantwell are all not in the squad, as speculation surrounds their futures at the club. Will they leave before the deadline in less than 7 days' time? The visitors then, Ross County, looking to bounce back from their shocking cup defeat to Spartans last weekend. They've drawn both of their opening league games so far, so they're looking to win for the first time this campaign. Don Cowie makes 3 changes from 7 days ago. James Brown, Ryan Leake and Noah Chilvers all drop to the bench. Akil Wright, Mickey Afete and Jack Greaves come into the 11, and it looks like a 4-4-2, Gordon. It'll be Ross Laidlaw in goal as ever, a defence of Akil Wright, Will Nightingale, Mickey Afete and George Harmon. Jack Greaves and Aidan Denham will play slightly wider, with Victor Latourie and Conor Randall in the middle. Jordan White and Ronan Hale are up top. The substitutes: Hamilton, Brown, Leake, Allardyce, Chilvers, Nisbet, Samuel, Brophy and Reid. Ross Hardy is the match referee, and Alan Muir is on VAR duty.
Looking forward to it. Let's start with the players that are here. Gordon Dalziel, what do you make of that Rangers team today? What sticks out for you?
I think the midfield 3. Diomande, I thought pre-season was going to have a terrific season. He's not got off to a great start, so he's decided whether it's resting him or just leaving him out, changing it a little bit. Sterling in there gives him that bit of power as well. Barron's been terrific. If I was a Rangers fan, I'd be delighted the Balogun's back. I think he gives them so much strength at the back. He allows them to go up the pitch. He's got bags of pace, bit of pace in the wide areas as well. And if they create chances today, Dessers will definitely score goals.
I think Daz is right with Sterling. I think he was a player that came to the fore last season and quickly became Rangers' best player in a number of positions. Now I think they've missed him. It's been a start to the season for him. But him in that side, I think, certainly makes Rangers a better side, alongside Barron, who's been excellent. Going forward in the wide areas, I was interested to see how they would shape up in those areas. Černý certainly looks like he could be a good player this season, and Matondo gives him that pace, that outlet, but you need a better end product for him. And the man up front, Dessers, tried Danilo, didn't quite work. Back to Dessers, a guy that no matter how many chances he misses, he always manages to get on the score sheet.
This is the last match before the Old Firm game. Therefore, psychologically, it's very important for Rangers. They cannot go to Celtic Park having done any more damage than they have already done. But Ross County, for me, a shambles. The result against the Spartans, a disgrace.
Other than that, though, that was obviously a horrific result, but that's it, is it not? I mean, they drew their opening 2 league games. They won all 4 in the League Cup. They're not are they a particular widespread shambles, or do you just mean the cup defeat?
Well, because
what's been wrong with the rest?
Yeah, but historically they scramble around the bottom of the league and their playoff material.
Yeah, but the smaller teams are going to do that. I don't know if that means they're a shambles.
Well, we'll find out today then, and I can guarantee you a Rangers win.
You can't guarantee anything.
I'll tell you what, he stuck his neck out there. That's a brave prediction.
If I could bet, Hugh, I would bet. Since you said that, but
I don't think it's a brave prediction at all.
No, we know it's not brave. That's the point. I think you're missing the point here.
If Philippe Clement couldn't pick a side, any side from what he's got at Ibrox that could beat Ross County, then he really is in trouble.
I think you're maybe missing the point quite spectacularly, may I add. There is a gap between Rangers will win this game and Ross County are a disgrace and a shambles. There's a lot of area in between there where the truth may lie. Anyway, let's not get bogged down in it too much at the start. Marcus Hugh did rightly point out the psychological bit. Rangers simply could not afford for that points gap to be any bigger than it is. I know it sounds crazy, we're not even out of August yet, but you know what I mean. Heading to Celtic Park, and maybe even try and get a real lift from the performance today, because yes, they beat Motherwell at Hampden in the league, but the second half was a concern. Yes, they beat Ross County in the Cup at Hampden, but it had its moments. So I think Philippe Clement, the Rangers fans, they really could be doing with a straightforward afternoon.
Well, it's certainly not been straightforward, from the beginning of the season till now. And patches they've looked okay. And I mentioned Cherny, he's looked good, he's looked a bright spark. So has Barron. But there's been too many underperforming, and when you get too many underperforming, that's what you get within a 90 minutes. You get, spikes that look good, and then you get long lulls, and you get chances against you. And there's been too many chances against Rangers where they've needed bottling. Their defence looks shaky. I agree with Dazzle today. I think Balogun, for whatever reason, has dropped out of Philippe Clement's thoughts for a starting 11 place. But because of injury, he's found himself back in there. I think he can make them more solid, and I think they need that at the minute. I think they need a solidity.
As a result of Robin Propper's injury, though. He's going to be the number one pick in that area when he's fit.
Yeah, that's why he's been brought in. But I agree. I said earlier, I think Balogun is up there for me. I think he gives them the fact that they can get up the pitch a little bit, and it helps the middle of the park go and win the second balls and get themselves supporting the front men, because I think that it's important today. Lawrence hasn't really been a standout for me. He's been very, very quiet.
See, how big a day is it for him? Because there was a feeling growing, it felt like, amongst those Rangers fans who get in touch with this show, that actually sort of going with that more solid look of Barron, Diamande and Sterling, that was the best three, that's the more suitable three. Tom Lawrence surely has to prove himself.
Yeah, I think that's the strongest three. If you were going to Celtic Park, and I would probably play that as the strongest three. But they're at home today. Lawrence has got it in his locker, let's not be kidded, but he's got to start producing. He's in and out of games at times for me, but today's a big one. I think Rangers will create a lot of chances against Ross County. I think that they could score a few goals as well.
Is that because they're shambles?
No, it's because you predicted it, Hugh. I'm going with you. And I like the fact that they've got a bit of pace on the wide areas and a bit of trickery as well.
Hugh, the transfer picture for Rangers is a complex one in the sense that it's got moving parts and they have to wait for players really to leave before others can come in. It does look like we've perhaps seen the last of Ben Davies,
for sure.
Birmingham City on loan, or the last of them for now. Birmingham City on loan, not in the squad today. Is that going to happen?
I would think that's a certainty to happen, but it gets him off the wage bill, and that's what Philippe Clement needs. He needs money freed up to bring others in. What happens to Cantwell and or Hadji is an altogether more interesting proposition. And what do you do with them if you can't get them off the wage bill by Friday? Do you then go to them and say, look, you're here, you might as well come back into the team? Cantwell, I think, has burnt his bridges with the Rangers supporters. He's far too much to say about getting out of the club. He's a problem for Philippe Clement. Hadji, I have no idea how he feels about anything, but it's a very precarious situation that Rangers find themselves in with the window due to close next Friday 11:30, because Philippe Clement, transparent to a fault, has said, I can't bring anyone in unless they go.
Well, the scene is set at Hampden, Rangers against Ross County. You have the thoughts of the guys, you have the team news as well from the National Stadium. So let's move round elsewhere. Always try by nature, David Friel, to not jump straight into sort of crisis narratives and managers being under pressure, but I do wonder how the Hibs ownership group, if we can call them that, would react if David Gray was to be in the receiving end of another difficult day.
Yeah, and it's a very complex ownership group as well, Gordon. I was actually having a look. It's almost exactly a year, I think, on Tuesday's anniversary since Lee Johnson was sacked from Hibs for, in the words of the club statement at the time, a poor start to the domestic season. I think Hibs fans are feeling deja vu right now. The more things change, the more things stay the same. After a nightmare few weeks, David Gray was chosen to replace Nick Montgomery after he was chosen to replace Lee Johnson in this managerial merry-go-round at Hibs. And surely David Gray will get time to make an impact, but as you kind of pointed out, patience is always in short supply at Hibs, and he really needs a home win today to ease some of the pressure on him, and it is mounting. Hibs have lost 4 of their last 5. They're out of the Premier Sports Cup. They are pointless in the league. They lost to Celtic Hearts a few weeks ago. I think losing twice to Celtic in succession is no disgrace, but Hibs really need a reaction against Dundee today. I think for David Gray, for these players, defeat is unthinkable. However,
they're up against a really good team. Tony Dockett's Dundee side are flying. They'll be intent on making it a capital double after beating Hearts a couple of weeks ago. They played 7 games this season, Dundee. They've scored 29 goals, and I'm sure they're going to come here believing they can win this game. There'll be a lot of focus on Luke McCowan. He's been a Hibs target throughout this window. I think there's a couple of bids rejected. He will captain Dundee today in his usual midfield place. Celtic are also keeping an eye on him, so this is a big chance for Luke McCowan to impress. And I also wonder whether Steve Clarke will be keeping an eye on him ahead of the Scotland squad being announced. I'll just run through the teams for you. Hibs obviously lost to Celtic last week. They've made 3 changes from there. Josh Campbell, Nathan Mariah-Welsh and Rocky Bashiri are out. Kwon and Nicky Cadden make first starts for the club, and Rudy Molotnikov is also in. So it's a 4-3-3 for Hibs. Joseph Busick in goals, Lewis Miller, Marvin Ekpateta and Warner Hora, and Jordan Abita at the back. Kwon, Joe Newell and Rudy Molotnikov in midfield, with Martin Boyle, Nikola Kuharevich and Nicky Cadden up front. Subs for Hibs are Smith, Chris Cadden, Amos McCurdy, Bowie, Mariah Welsh, Megla Campbell and Rocky Bashiri. As for Dundee, just the 2 changes. John McCracken, he's their normal goalkeeper. He comes in for Trevor Carson, who played against Airdrie in the Cup last week. That was a 6-1 win. And Billy Kumetio, new signing for Liverpool, is in for Ethan Ingram. He'll play at centre half. So Dundee are going to line up 4-3-3 as well. It's John McCracken in goals, Jordan McGee, Billy Kumetio, Javier Portales and Ziad Larkesh at the back. Lyle Cameron, Mo Sillett and Luke McCowan in midfield, with Seb Palmer holding SPH, Simon Murray and Scott Tiffany up top. Subs for Dundee are Sharp, Carson, Ingram, Astley, Main, Graham, Lockhead and Robertson. Referee is Colin Stephen and the VAR is Alistair Grieve.
Proclaimers right on brand there at Easter Road for David Friel. What about Tannadice, the Craig Levein derby, will we call it that? Dundee United, St Johnstone. Dave Galloway's there. Oh, there. It doesn't help when you press the wrong button for poor Dave Galloway. Dave, take it away.
There's a real feel-good factor about Dundee United, Gordon, after an unbeaten start to life back in the Premiership and a League Cup quarter-final place secured. They are also 6 games unbeaten in all competitions. St Johnstone have been inconsistent, 3 wins and 3 defeats in their last 6 matches, but they have shown signs of what they can deliver, as they did with a fine 3-0 win at Kilmarnock. Contrasting fortunes for these teams in the Cup last weekend, so it'll be interesting to see what influence that could have on this afternoon's encounter. But both have some exciting talent. Hopefully that points towards an entertaining game. Meetings between these two have been close in recent years, with plenty 1-goal wins and draws, and another close contest is very much on the cards here. Dundee United, I can tell you, are unchanged. So it's Jack Walton in goals. It's a back 3 of Emmanuel Adegboyega, Ross Graham and Declan Gallagher. Midfield, Lucas Stevenson, Craig Sibbald, Kevin Holt and Will Ferry. Up top, Jort van der Sande is supported by David Babunski and Christian Trapanovsky. The subs, Richards, Moult, Odada, Middleton, Fotheringham, Doherty, Thompson, Cleel Harding and Meshach. St Johnstone, well, just the one change for them. The one coming in is Aaron Essel. Out goes Cammy McPherson. So it's Josh Ray in goals. Looks like a back 3 of Lewis Nielsen, Jack Sanders and Kyle Cameron. Midfield, Dre Wright, Aaron Essel, Graham Carey, Matt Smith and Andre Raymond. Up top, Adama Sidibe and Benji Kimpioka. The substitutes, Sinclair, McPherson, Clark, Connor Smith, Sprangler, McPake, Kirk, Franzak and Kelchins. The match referee is Don Robertson, and on VAR duties this afternoon at Tannadice, it's Grant Irvin.
The good thing about these weekends where the games are split across Saturday and Sunday is we get to dip into the Championship. Falkirk against Partick Thistle looks like an absolute cracker, and Fraser Wishart is there.
Yeah, it's a bit of Falkirk watch for me, Gordon, 3rd week in a row, but I have to say that's not a hardship these days. You just sense there's something good happening here, and more importantly for us watching the games, John McGlynn has built a side that's good to watch and on a long winning streak in the league. And just speak to supporters outside, staff in here, there's an excitement around the club, and that of course was added to when they deservedly beat Hearts here last week in the League Cup to set up a quarter-final at Celtic Park next month. And when you add to that 2 wins out of 2 this season, an unbeaten run in the league last season, you can see why many are tipping Falkirk to be in the mix come the end of the season. And more importantly, as I said earlier, they're an exciting team to watch, but they've got good players and many have got top league experience. But today's opponents, Partick Thistle, have also been tipped to win the division by most of us, I think, on this show. So a lot of expectation on Chris Doolan and his men, but they haven't had such a great start to the season. Scoring goals has been the problem. No goals in their 2 league games so far, and only 1 point. And you add into it was a good 0-0 against Motherwell in the Cup, but that makes 3 games without a goal, which is a bit of a surprise when you look at the attacking options in the team. They've had a couple of weeks to work on things because they didn't have a cup tie last Saturday, but a bit of a blow. Scott Robinson was sent off a couple of weeks ago against Wraith. He's suspended, and Brian Graham misses this game through injury, but you have to think it will click soon, and today would be a good time for that to start, as defeat would see Jags fall 8 behind Falkirk even this early in the season. I think an exciting 90 minutes ahead. Can Falkirk keep the momentum going, or will Partick Thistle get their season started? For Falkirk, team news unchanged, unsurprisingly, from that game against Hearts. 4-2-3-1. Nicky Hogarth's in goals, Keelan Adams, Cole Donaldson, Liam Henderson and Sean Mackey at the back. In midfield, Brad Spencer and Dylan Tate, with Calvin Miller, Gary Oliver and Ethan Ross behind Ross McKeever. The substitutes are Owen Hayward, Finn Yates, Leon McCann, fit again Callum Morrison, Alfredo Aguiman, Ryan Shanley, Michael McKenna, Flynn McCafferty and Caelan McCrone. For the Jags, it's a bit of all change. There's 4 changes from that 1-0 defeat. Croft and Graham are injured, Chalmers on the bench and Robinson suspended. In come Ashcroft, Dyack, Stanway and Casper Nielsen on loan from Brighton makes his debut. The young lad, he'll play on the right hand side of midfield. It's a 4-1-4-1 for Partick. Miles Roberts in goals by Siri Williams, Lee Ashcroft, Dan O'Reilly and Harry Milne at the back. Luke McBeth will sit in midfield, and ahead of him Casper Nielsen, Kyle Turner, Ben Stanway and Aidan Fitzpatrick, with Rico Dyack as the lone striker. Mason McCready, Stuart Bannigan, Logan Chalmers, Liam Smith, Terry Ablade, Charlie Sayers, James Lyon and Xander McKenzie are on the bench, and the referee today is Lloyd Wilson.
The Gordon Dalziel derby here, United Wraith Rovers. Roger Hanna's keeping an eye on that one.
Yeah, and of course Daz isn't the only guy, Gordon, to have played for both sides. You'll know the tale of Frankie Musonda, a couple of years at Wraith Rovers. He's now here at Ayr, a couple of years, and he's a Zambian international defender, 14 caps. He played at the Africa Cup of Nations at the start of the year, and his success here has spawned, would you believe, an Ayr United supporters club in Zambia. Now, it's a great story. Ayr United fans have launched a GoFundMe page. They have flown over a gentleman by the name of Charles Chibala, who has flown 7,700 miles from Lusaka. He is here at Somerset Park this afternoon, the day of his dreams, and Frankie got injured yesterday and is missing the game. You could not make it up. It just shows you there's always somebody worse off than you. It's the only change for the Championship leaders. Frankie drops out from the side that beat Hamilton 3-2 here last week to take Ayr 3 points clear at the top of the table. I mean, 17-year-old Dylan Watrud, who came on as a substitute last week, makes his first ever league start for the today. They go with Harry Stone in goal as a back four. Dylan Watrud, George Stanger, Scott McMahon and Paddy Redding. Across the midfield, Jay Henderson, Ben Dempsey, Marco Roos and Jamie Murphy. And up top it's George Oakley and Anton Dowds. On the bench, Russell McAllister and Silla, Tomlinson, McKenzie and Hasty, Walker, Devlin and McRoberts. As for Wraith Rovers, they had 3 2-1 wins against Ayr last season, including 2 here at Somerset Park. John Potter is still at the helm after the sacking of Ian Murray. Several candidates have been linked to the vacancy, but it now looks like Linfield manager David Healy, once of Rangers in Northern Ireland, is now a short price favourite to take this job next week. Last season's Championship runners-up, they won 1-0 last time out at home to Partick a couple of weeks ago. Since then they've added Lewis Jameson, striker on loan from St Mirren. He starts on the bench today, and starting in the 11 for the first time as a Wraith Rovers player is Paul Hanlon, the former Hibs and Scotland defender, finally fit to start his Rovers career. He comes in with another ex-Hibby sub, Sam Stanton, going to bench. So they'll have Kevin Dabrowski in goal as a back four. Ross Matthews, Ewan Murray, Paul Hanlon and Liam Dick. The holders are Sean Byrne and Lewis Stevenson. Then is Lewis Gibson, Josh Mullen and Dylan Easton behind Callum Smith. Only 6 subs for Rovers: McNeil, Montague, Nicholson, Connolly, Stanton and Jameson. The referee is Ian Snedden, and of course there's no VAR in the Championship.
There is not. We have a big talking point to look back on, as we often do at this time on a Saturday. We assess some of the week's biggest stories, and there's one brewing right now. It involves you Celtic fans. We'll do that next. Clyde One Super Scoreboard is brought to you by NordVPN. Let's be honest, we all want to enjoy a more private and secure internet, especially Gordon DL, while having access to more content from around the world. With just one click, NordVPN can switch your virtual location to a country showing your favourite team whose game isn't being televised at home, so you don't have to miss out. Not only only can you virtually teleport your devices around the world, but you can also block malicious websites and stop web trackers, giving you great peace of mind. One NordVPN account now covers 10 devices, so to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/SuperScoreboard. This link will give you 4 extra months on their 2-year plan. We've added the link to the podcast description as well. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Terms and conditions apply, and check streaming service terms before use. Honestly, you'll be in safe hands. Think of it like Neuer, Alisson, Donnarumma, Buffon. Safe hands indeed. Now, right, let's get back to the podcast.
Get set Portsmouth. Barclays is serving up an ace in your local park. We've teamed up with the LTA to bring you free tennis sessions because we believe tennis is for everyone. So next weekend, you could be playing tennis absolutely free. Anyone can play, with access to courts, coaching and equipment provided. There's a session near you in Havant. Search Barclays Free Park Tennis to register and sign up. Barclays, here for every goal.
It's a busy day in Admouth. The Admiral bumps into Joe Jenkins in the supermarket.
Is everything okay?
Well, got up at 6 a.m, showered, fed the cat, fed the dog, fed the kids, did the school run, the vet went and went on a run, drive to work, charged my car and charged to lunch, searched for new cars, used cars and tried to sell the old car, popped over to the flat and had tea with the tenants, sorted out the leak and picked up leaks for dinner, and now I need to find insurance.
And breathe.
Oh.
Take it easy and insure everything in one place with Admiral Multi-Cover and more. Admiral Insurance, always looking out for you.
And she's off! The corner shop is in sight, the National Lottery sign is there, and she's heading right for it! Look at Rebecca. She's making a real difference just by playing the National Lottery. Her numbers help fund Team GB and Paralympics GB athletes, powering their journey to Paris, one ticket at a time. Oh, just look at her go! Unbelievable stuff! Changing lives like it's a walk to the shops.
The National Lottery, changing lives every day. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
When someone you love dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
You have no idea what hell awaits you.
And sometimes something so bad happens
Please don't do this!
that the soul cannot rest.
I'm gonna kill every single one of them.
The Crow in cinemas now. Certificate 18.
Action as it happens. And your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel are in the studio. We've given you team news ahead of our 3 o'clock featured matches, but as always at this time on a Saturday we take a look at the week's biggest talking points, and one that is fairly fresh. Roger Hannah, we're not going back to early in the week. We have a situation where Matt O'Reilly appears to be on a plane down south this morning and is about to become a Brighton player.
Yeah, an EasyJet flight. You would think with that new English Premier League wage you might get a private jet down to the south coast of England. I don't know with his Brighton connections, with Hugh paying for the ticket, Gordon, do we know? But listen, it's a move that was always going to happen. It will be the richest move in Scottish football history. I was told last night if all the add-ons are met in the deal, it will rise to close to £32 million. Brighton are going along very nicely without Matt O'Reilly. They won 3-0 at Everton last week. They've just beaten Manchester United by 2-1 this afternoon. They're top of the English Premier League. It's a great club for Matt O'Reilly to go and take on the next chapter of his career. I think he'll fit in very well. I'm fascinated. Billy Gilmour started the game today, so I wonder if that puts his proposed move to Napoli in jeopardy. You might see a midfield of O'Reilly and Gilmour going forward beyond the transfer window closing on Friday night, and it's a type of deal where everyone is a winner. Brighton get their man, O'Reilly gets his move to arguably the best league in the world, and Celtic are very, very well recompensed.
The Celtic fans are only a winner, Hugh, though, if he's replaced by someone in the same ballpark, or the team can cope without him, basically.
As things stand, the Celtic squad is now weaker than it was last season. That is a ludicrous state of affairs. 3 months they've had, and not one outfield player has been signed. Bernardo was there last season, and so was Adam Ida. Brendan Rodgers keeps going on about the Champions League and his need for players of quality so that he can make some form of impact. He keeps repeating the same phrase. He wants to compete in the Champions League and not participate. And he's got a squad now weaker than last season, and he's got a matter of days to try and get in players at a club where for 3 months they've sat on their hands.
That said, Fraser Wishart, this goes down as one of the best pieces of business Scottish football's seen. Signed from League One in England for $1.5 million and sold for a Scottish record fee a couple of years later, having picked up a whole host of trophies along the way. That's how you do the player trading model. Hugh's right, you need to then wait and see what comes next, but that's how it's done, really.
Absolutely, and I think there'll be a few people behind the scenes at Celtic trying to claim the credit for signing Matt O'Reilly. Whoever did and whoever's involved in that can pat themselves on the back and get a big bonus, I think, because what an amazing signing he's been. And when he was signed, I don't think any of us thought he would go straight into the team, but Ange Postecoglou threw him into the team straight away when he signed from MK Dons. And I was thinking to myself, why has this lad been playing in League One all these years? Why isn't there a queue of Championship and Premiership teams at that stage wanting to sign him? So good business for Celtic, and to turn that around over a couple of years, 2.5 years, whatever else it is, then I think that's a great bit of business. It's brilliant for the player as well, so well done to him, because he's kicked on and he's really grabbed the opportunity and played well at the highest level, and played well in Europe and played well in Scotland. So it's win-win all round. But as Hugh said, all those people that are taking credit for signing Matt O'Reilly, they'll now be looking to them and saying, right, who have you got on your list? Who is there that we can sign to replace him? Because it's 8 Champions League games, hopefully 10 and maybe even more for Celtic if they get to the qualification, get the top 24. So there's a bigger burden on them in terms of the number of games in the Champions League this year as well. So I would imagine you'll see a few players coming in to Celtic over the next 4 or 5 days, but the pressure comes when the window gets closer and closer as well. It becomes a bit more frantic, and sometimes the signs are desperate. So a big week for Celtic's scouting department and player recruitment department.
Mark, from a Celtic perspective, how do you balance up the fact that it is an incredible piece of business against the hole he leaves in Brendan Rodgers' team?
Well, I think, the guys, Fraser and Roger, who's spoken, Hugh, are all right in their own way. £30 million or £32 million of all add-ons, mate. You're talking then about a £30 million profit for a player in a couple of seasons in Scottish football is remarkable business from the club, from the scouting department to the management who's managed them, to the player himself, and to the CEO and the board who held out for that amount, because they could have sold him for £15 million probably about 6 weeks ago. And you're right, that's how player trading should be done in this country. We shouldn't just go for the first option. However, you cannot ignore the elephant in the room, and it's how long Celtic have taken to add to their squad. And Hugh is totally right, he's been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it becomes even more apparent when you lose your best player who started the season so well. So it's a crucial position, and you just wonder who is on the list. There must be a list to replace him, and how quickly can Celtic get that across, and how much are they willing to spend of that 30 million they've got in?
On a purely footballing sense, Gordon, that Mark's given us like the Celtic perspective from a neutral perspective, if you like, a fully football focused perspective. He's been great to watch in the Scottish Premiership, hasn't he? He's been a joy since he came, really.
Sad loss for Celtic. Massive hole he's left behind, because it is big boots to fill, because he's come in. I totally agree with, I think it was Fraser was talking about, you seen him at MK Dons, you're thinking, why is Championship clubs, better clubs, not taking a chance on him? Celtic decided to go down that road. I think Brendan Rodgers has been absolutely brilliant for the boy. He's brought him on leaps and bounds. He's worth every penny. He's going to better things for me. I know Brighton are absolutely flying just now, and a big club, Brighton, but I think he's going to better things. I think he can do what Van Dijk and guys like that achieved in England, Gordon. But the guys are quite right to say it's going to be a big task replacing him.
The financial aspect is undeniable. It is a sensational piece of business. It takes Celtic's money in the bank, I would estimate, to well over £100 million. But can we come back to the question of, are Celtic a bank or are they a football club? When the manager talks about the Champions League, they need to make an impact there, bearing in mind that over the last 2 seasons in the Champions League, Celtic have played 12 games and won one of them. If the manager wants to make an impact in the Champions League, and the draw is to be made on Thursday, he's already bang up against it, because they have a matter of days not only to replace O'Reilly, because by replacing O'Reilly you're then still standing still. That's you've replaced him, But the manager wanted additional quality. How many players of real good quality can Celtic assemble between now and next Friday when they've spent the last 3 months signing no one?
I guess we'll find out in 6 days' time, David Friel, what the answer to that one is. Is it the type? I was going to say, is it the type of move that no one can really grumble with? No one can grudge Matt O'Reilly. We did have some Celtic fans earlier in the week sort of labelling Brighton as mid-table mediocrity and not sure why he would go there, but they're such a well-run club. They've made a really fast start to this season's English Premier League. They play attractive football. The structure is everything about it just makes sense for every party, doesn't it? I mean, Hugh's right. The next bit is what Celtic do, but in many ways that's separate as to whether this was a good move or not for everyone.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue that in the traditional sense Brighton are bigger than Celtic, Gordon, but if you want to go to a well-run club, if you want to go to a club that develops players and helps them make the next step, and I'm talking about going to elite level, then Brighton is as good as any. I just wonder, with all this chat about Matt O'Reilly, I just wonder what Riley McGree is thinking, Gordon. You know, remember, he was the number one choice for that position in Ange Postecoglou's that transfer window. He decided to go to Middlesbrough. Celtic went to their second choice. That was Matt O'Reilly. The rest is history. Incredible how football can sometimes come down to sliding doors moments, but whoever spotted him, whoever asked Celtic to take the plunge, what a piece of scouting and what a piece of business all round.
I mean, Mark, there's been an air of inevitability about it. Atalanta, it feels like they've had 34 bids knocked back. I've lost count. I'm sure it's probably single figures somewhere. Even going back to Atletico Madrid in January, this has been inevitable, and you see him this morning, as Roger rightly points out. I can't believe he's got the Glasgow to Gatwick EasyJet that Gordon Dalziel gets and that Hugh Keevins gets when he's going to see the grandkids.
Extra legroom as well.
But when the sneaky pictures are taken on the plane this morning, barring something unforeseeable, it's going to be secure and he won't be a Celtic player. He won't be in the squad tomorrow.
No, and I think it'll be a straightforward affair for Matt O'Reilly. You know, it's pretty easy to negotiate when you're going to that level of club, but you've got to look at the player and what he's given Celtic, and that's the way you know, if you've aspirations of coming to Scotland and going on to a higher level or a higher league, then you should look at what Matt O'Reilly did. He came in 1.5 million into a team that still had good players in his position, but worked tirelessly to get into that side and make himself an ever present, and then to do it under two managers. And I think Daz mentioned the other night, Brendan Rodgers has to take credit as well, because he was good under Ange Postecoglou, but I think Brendan Rodgers got something else out of him in that attacking third, and that's what makes the English Premier League teams sit up and take notice.
Speaking of which, they have beaten Manchester United this lunchtime, and there's a great shot of Erik ten Hag on the touchline looking a bit down about things. Brighton scored in the 95th minute, but the fans behind him, one of them has got like a full seagull head mask on, Hugh. I think if that is not in your stocking by Christmas, we have failed you.
I just want that person to take it off to see if it's my grandson Archie. But,
I like the look of that, I have to say. Right up your street.
He called me at 9 o'clock this morning and told me it was an easy 3 points, and he was correct in the end. And
got there in the end.
Erik ten Hag is a dud.
What about the David Friel? I'm going to let you give us your thoughts on what Brendan Rodgers said about transfers yesterday before this Matt O'Reilly news, and almost how he said it, because I made a point of this last night. I listened to it all. It was 27 minutes. I just thought it was really revealing the way he went about everything, but you were there as well, so I just wonder if you read into it quite as much as I did.
Yeah, I did. It was 27 minutes, Gordon. It was fascinating. I must have sat through and interviewed Brendan Rodgers hundreds of times over his 2 spells as manager. I thought it was composed, relaxed, but he was very pointed in what he said. And to be honest with you, it was the same message as he said back in February 1st. I actually looked back this morning when he said the full thing about the board need to be braver in the transfer window, the club needs to be braver and pay a bit more. A lot of the same messages were coming out yesterday. He said himself it's a big 7 days, and for me Brendan Rodgers pretty much laid it on the line to the Celtic board, and there was no Terminado talk, there was no hissy fits or toys out the pram or anything like that. He was pretty clear and said that he's done his job, the scouts have done their job, it's now up to the board to deliver deals. But I agree with the sense that if Celtic can't provide players in 3 months, I don't know how they're going to get 4 or 5 quality players in the space of a week. I find the whole business this summer pretty baffling, to be perfectly honest with you, and the Celtic board have put themselves under real pressure going into the final week of the window.
David, it begs this question for me, and you looked at him yesterday. If the deals are not done by Friday, What's the point in Brendan Rodgers staying at Celtic and repeating the same failure year in, year out with regard to Europe?
Yeah, exactly. Hugh, I think his frustration now is that the money is there and everybody can see the money's there. Celtic have had to put statements out to say that they're going to have more money than they expected. The Matarelli money's coming, the Champions League money's coming. You know, they're going to probably sell Gustav Lagerbielke. They've already brought in probably about £10 million almost, Mikey Johnson money. There is so much money there, and I think Brendan Rodgers' frustration is that the club maybe just aren't going that extra bit to get players in. Now, I'm sure there's various facets to that. I know it'll come down to wages, wage structures, and sometimes players just don't want to come to Scotland. I get that, but I can't believe that there hasn't been deals to be done for Celtic to get them up to a level where Brendan Rodgers feel they can compete in the Champions League, not go and make the last six, but just compete and not end with 4 points, with 2 points, and just go and make a better impact in that area. And as I said, he said, I asked him the question yesterday, is the time left for you to get done what you expect in terms of transfers? His words were, time will tell, it's a big 7 days, and I think to me that spoke volumes.
A big 7 days and a big afternoon before we eat into that, because huge games around the country this afternoon, and we will go back around the grounds next.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel are in the studio, the top team round the grounds ahead of the 3 o'clock games. Let's hear from Philippe Clement ahead of the visit of Ross County to Hampden.
I still have pain in my stomach if I think about our game last season against Ross County. So we know it's a tough opponent who will do everything to take us out of the game. So I want confirmation from the players, the things they showed last week. That's what we've been working on during the week. And like this, to grow as a squad and then to strengthen the squad this week with a few players with added value towards the team for the short term. So we signed in the beginning of the transfer market several young players for the future, but we expect to do things also for the short term now.
So Ross County, the visitors to the National Stadium today. Hibs against Dundee at David Friel. I'm not sure it reaches Matt O'Reilly territory in terms of column inches, but look, McCowan, that's a real interesting story. He's lit up the Scottish Premiership in many ways. Does he go from Dundee to Hibs? Wonder how that one plays out. You're watching both today.
Yeah, it's an interesting. He's a very good player. He's a late bloomer. I think people sometimes wrongly think he's 21, 22. He's not. He's in his mid-20s, and he's been around the Scottish game for a while now. But he's really found a home at Dundee. He's really blossomed under Tony Docherty, and I'm not surprised that Hibs have had bids rejected. I'm not surprised Celtic have had a really, really close look at him, and I wouldn't be surprised if they even come back again if Brendan Rodgers feels he needs a bit of squad competition in that area. Hibs are keen to get him in, I think, just because of his energy, his leadership. He's a captain of Dundee, he leads by examples, takes all the set pieces. So he's an outstanding footballer, and I think he works really, really well with Lyle Cameron and Mo Salah in there. And I look at the Hibs midfield, and I think they need someone like Kwon, who makes his debut today, because I think Joe Newell has been doing far too much of the heavy lifting himself. A good player, but probably not the quickest. I think he's got Kwon in there today, and I think that's going to be a fascinating battle. But as I said earlier at the top of the show, Hibs are under real pressure, and they're up against the Dundee side full of confidence. 29 goals at any level in 7 games is a remarkable feat. I think Tony Docherty will feel he can add to that today as well, Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, you're arguably one of the surprise packages or success stories from the Premiership last season in Dundee, David. But then what people do is they jump on that as being unlikely for Dundee to repeat it in it. Very early days, not going to predict that they go on top last season, but they could barely have done much better in the start of this campaign.
No, they've been outstanding, and I think stability is a big key. Dundee, the turnover of players is pretty high, and it has been pretty high again. You just look through the team today: Simon Murray, Billy Koumetio, Ziad Larkesh, Seb Palmer Holden. Guys all come in during the summer, but I think they've got such a definitive structure, a way of playing. I think they've got a really good coach in Tony Docherty, and everybody you speak to says, Mark will know from experience, he's a really good man manager. He gets the best out of players, he keeps things simple, but they play. I always think when you look at Dundee, they're pretty solid defensively. They've always got a freedom to go and play and go and create. They've got Simon Murray up front now, who will run Hibs ragged today. He's been here on loan before. He'll have a point to prove as well. I think he's got a good record against Hibs too. But Scott Tiffany one side of him, Seb Palmer holding the other. They've got real firepower on this team, and I would actually make Dundee favourites today, to be honest with you, Gordon.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating game either way. Hibs fans really can't afford Another poor result at the start of the season. Let's dip into the Championship. Falkirk against Partick Thistle. And always, every season, Fraser, we could just play it back about, how tight this league is. It would be interesting to see if some team can actually break that. Not one of the so-called bigger teams that have been in the Championship, but if one team can really try and take this by the scruff of the neck from early on.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of the Championship, as am I, Gordon. I think it's a very, very even league, more than it has been for a number of years this season, because you've not got a Dundee United or a club like Dundee as well, who are maybe bigger than the rest, got more money to spend. So one team could do it. I saw Jim Duffy at the start of the season tipping Falkirk to do back-to-back promotions, and to be honest with you, having seen what I've seen the last few weeks, you wouldn't bet against them. But there again, Thistle are our tips as well, and there's some good teams around here. I just think there's something happening at Falkirk. They've got it right off the pitch. They've had real problems. And remember, they'd 5 years in League One. 5 years. Yeah, there was 5,000 supporters here last season when they were in League One and on that good run, and the same last week against Hearts. So they're a decent sized club in Scottish terms. And for the Jags as well, we're all in the west of Scotland, Glasgow based radio station. We like Partick Thistle, and you want them to get a wee turn at the Premiership, and it's been too many years for them to be down in League One as well. But then it's Scott Brown, Rogers watching that game as well. So I don't think you'll be able to choose. I don't think anybody will break away. I think it's going to be a very, very even season. But until somebody can actually knock the confidence and the momentum of Falkirk, they'll just go in every game thinking they're going to win it. And I think they'll win today as well. And that'll put them 8 points ahead of Partick Thistle. It's a big gap, even though it's very, very early in the season.
Yeah, they'll be absolutely flying after that cup win last weekend. With Ayr United, Roger, you're always going to have that Scott Brown factor. Sometimes players who had a big career don't go on to be good managers. Sometimes it works the opposite way. There's obviously no rhyme or reason, but naturally there's going to be a real focus on seeing how he takes to this management game. I know there was Fleetwood before, but now that he's sort of here, if you like, under our noses, be interesting to see how Ayr keep up this start to the season.
Yeah, very much so. He's hardly really put a foot wrong since he's been there. If you remember, they were in relegation trouble in the springtime. He came in and he managed to keep them up with a bit to spare, and credit to him, Gordon. And this season he's gone really well. It's 6 wins and just a defeat away at Premiership Dundee United, that 2-1 on a Saturday night since the start of the season in all competitions. 3 straight wins in the league, 10 goals scored in the league so far. It's an attacking lineup. It's caught the imagination of the home fans, and I think nobody really noticed it. They won at Hamilton in day one, but when they won at Airdrie, they won at home to Airdrie, I should say, 5-0 on the telly on that Friday night. People began to sit up and pay attention. There was 500 more here against Hamilton last week than it had been at that Airdrie game. I think they're expecting an even bigger crowd. The new North Stand is now open. The place is looking resplendent, and I think the local community are buying in to the Scott Brown revolution here.
The big game in Glasgow though comes at Hampden. It's Rangers against Ross County, and we'll go back to the National Stadium next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Gordon Dalziel and Mark Wilson in the studio, minutes away from kick-off in the 3 o'clock games, one of which of course is at Hampden. Ross County, the visitors, and Gabriel is there.
Yes, Gordon, Rangers have never lost a home game against Ross County. These matches at Hampden have all had a strange flavour to them. It's their 4th in a row here at the National Stadium. They'll hope it's their last league game that they have to play here, longing for Ibrox, these supporters. The stadium much closer to capacity than it was last Saturday in the cup game against St Johnstone. They really want a good performance, all of these supporters, just to give the whole club a lift heading into next weekend's huge opening Old Firm of the season. Dropping points today is simply out of the question. Already 2 behind Celtic, that gap cannot get any bigger before their trip to Parkhead next Sunday. We spoke to Philippe Clement about transfers yesterday. Players must leave before any arrive, though. That's what he seemed to be telling us. They look like a team who need to strengthen in certain areas. But Ben Davis, Yanis Hadji and Todd Cantwell all looking to go towards the exit door. Captain James Tavernier leading the team out onto the pitch now. Ross County in red, Rangers in blue, and let's have a look at both teams once again. Philippe Clement makes 4 changes to the side from last weekend. Robin Proper is one of those not risked with a focus on next weekend. Whilst Mohamed Diomande is one that's dropped to the bench. An interesting call from the Belgian. Unsurprisingly, Conor Barron comes back in. Leon Balogun, Tom Lawrence and Cyril Dessers are also in the 11. So it's Jack Butland in goal, a defence of James Tavernier, John Suter, Leon Balogun and Jefty. Conor Barron and Dujon Sterling will be at the base of midfield with Tom Lawrence just in front of them. Václav Černý and Rabi Matondo will play on the wings. Cyril Dessers is Rangers number 9. Substitutes: Kelly, Diomande, Dowell, Danilo, King, McCausland, Fraser, McKinnon and Rice. The visitors, well, the Staggies are looking for their first league victory of the season after 2 draws from 2. They impressed in the early stages of the Premier Sports Cup, but last weekend they crashed out, stunned by Spartans. Canton Carey's men bounce back. They make 3 changes from 7 days ago, with Brown, Leake and Chilvers dropping down to the bench. Wright, Ifete and Greaves come into the 11. So it looks like a 4-4-2 with Ross Laidlaw in goal. A defence of Akil Wright, Will Nightingale, Mickey Ifete and George Harmon. Jack Greaves, Victor Laturi, Conor Randall and Aidan Denham play across the middle. Jordan White and Ronan Hale are up top. The substitutes: Hamilton, Brown, Leake, Allardyce, Chilvers, Nisbet, Samuel, Brophy and Reid. The boys in the studio were touching on it earlier, Gordon. Everyone in this stadium can remember what happened the last time these two teams met. Rangers looking to avenge that 3-2 defeat up in Dingwall in April that derailed their title bid, but Rangers also looking to kickstart their campaign and head into that Old Firm game riding high. What a huge moment in the season we're already at, and we're still in August. Ross Hardy, the match referee, just giving the nod to Tom Lawrence there, who stands over the ball, Gordon, and we're about to get underway in today's 3 o'clock matches.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Planning your holiday? Get essential health advice and medication before you travel.
Well, games in Scotland already underway, to the extent that Airdrie trail Queen's Park already by 1-0. Jack Turner's opened the scoring there. But in our featured matches, we are just getting underway, which means you 3 duds have to pick your ACCA, and it's 5 games as well today on our featured card. Take it away, Hugh.
No problem. Rangers by a distance against Ross County. Dundee to beat Hibs at Easter Road. Dundee United to beat St Johnstone. Falkirk to beat Partick Thistle. And Ayr United winners at home against Wraith.
I'll be with you in this one. Rangers will win at Hampden quite comfortably. I think Hibs versus Dundee a draw. Dundee United St Johnstone a draw. I'll go another draw at Falkirk. And Ayr United to beat Wraith Rovers.
Just doesn't want to upset. He doesn't want to upset his employer. That's all it is.
No, a couple of good signings this week. So
well, you obviously
they
should
need
go
to
for
bed
Partick.
in. No, they need to bed in.
Right, I'm going Rangers. I'm going home win for Hibs. I think David Gray will go off the mark today. I'm going Dundee United and St Johnstone. I'm going St Johnstone. I'm going Falkirk, and I'm going for my old club, Ayr United. I think they are flying high.
Okay, good on you. We'll see how that plays out at Clyde SSB if you want to stay in touch on Twitter. Of course, later on, much further down the line, you'll have the chance to have your say on the phones. You're talking about Partick Thistle making new signings. Is it Liam Smith that's the new signing?
Yeah.
Is he on the bench today?
Looks
did
an
you
upbeat
see
character.
Did you see the interview he did on Partick Thistle's own?
He was buzzing.
Channel. He was just like, and I've got sympathy for these young footballers who are thrust in front of a camera, but it was like Andy Murray Max, you know, like the just no smiling, don't crack us, look like held there against.
He's here for business, Gordon. That's what it looked like.
Quite right.
He's got his head screwed on.
Journalists look at things in the
when
wrong way.
Gordon DL set up Super Scoreboard during the week, I texted you and said it was a low point in broadcasting history. Having seen the boys interview, Gordon DL looks like Gary Lineker beside this guy.
Did you not think it was good?
I thought it was a low point in broadcasting history.
Hold on a minute.
For anyone who wants to know the context, I had an absolute disaster. I was in St Andrews for the Women's Open Golf. It took me 3 hours to get back. I did make the start of the show, but I did not make the little news intro that I usually do at like 2 minutes to 6 or 6 o'clock every night, which means Gordon DL did it. And in Hugh's words, it was a low point for broadcasting. I thought you did okay, for what it's worth.
I got a lot of good feedback.
Came in a bit early. You were a bit over eager.
Hold on a minute.
I thought, listening to the programme, that you'd gone over to Clydebank Shopping Centre and stopped a passer-by to see if he could do it.
Thank you, wrinkly head. Super Scoreboard is up next. Give us a call on 0141 951 1025. But first, your latest news.
I like that wee end.
How good is it? And first, your latest news.
You crashed a little bit at the start. You came in a bit early.
Well, Super Scoreboard is
you're competing with the music there, or the sound effects.
Fair.
Why don't we give him another go?
Was that a one-take wonder?
I was told, I was told the minute that went to 0 on the clock, get yourself in there.
Just listen and just get the feel for it.
But
react.
Hugh, he was outside 5 minutes before getting fresh air. The nerves in the guy, because he thought he was having to drive the show because Gordon wasn't here. I was sitting with my legs crossed laughing.
He is, but not to find a point, an absolute shyster. I watched him today. His conduct today, totally unbecoming. He wanders into this building and said, I said, good morning, Dazzler, how are you? Back's killing me. And then somebody came in, and you can tell the story later, but somebody came in and gave him free golf equipment.
I'll tell it now, because
good, wasn't it?
It was born on the show a couple of weeks ago. We said that Craig, who's Martin Keimer's caddy, who listens to the show, he tweeted in to say he was going to bring you golf balls in, and he did.
Did you hear that? Me, but I shared.
He turned up with them today, and you were like Usain Bolt. You went from having a sore back, you ran, you grabbed them off him, you then went inexplicably outside to put them in your car just to make sure that nobody takes them.
He got off the couch like a man in an ejector.
The story goes, I was outside and I met Craig Connolly outside, and I said, how you doing? Why are you here? I thought he was at this one. And he says, but I've brought you golf stuff. And I went, is that Daz's golf stuff? And he went, no, I've brought you all golf stuff. And I went, brilliant. He comes in,
gives me a big
he
cuddle.
jumps up, grabs a bag, and goes through it like a kid on Christmas Day.
Shameful.
And then runs out to his car.
Sharing is caring.
But you were now an hour and 10 minutes into the show, and you're still wearing the hat that he gave you.
That's lovely, isn't it? I gave you his choice.
I know, but I just don't know why you're wearing it currently.
The headphones on top.
That's
a young man's game.
Yeah.
The headphones over the hats.
Nice.
Simon Donnelly usually does it. Younger than him. Maybe he's just pushing it at his age. Certainly not 63. No way.
Well, you should have seen the wedges he gave me when I walked out.
Anyway, let's get back to normality if we can, because it's time that we got some goals going in. None in the top flight, sadly, but Dumbarton nil, Arbroath 1. Scott Stewart with the goal there. Difficult time for Arbroath. Parted company with Jim McIntyre after the game last week, didn't he? He's had a tough time at Jim McIntyre. Took over last season. Remember, the squad was decimated. Arbroath were in a totally different place from where they were under Dick Campbell, and he struggled to get any sort of joy out of them.
Have they got a replacement yet?
Yeah, they've got an interim who, I read his quotes in the newspaper. He makes himself sound like Pep Guardiola.
Who is it, Hugh?
He's so
there's nothing wrong with that.
Man. So does this guy standing next to me.
Yeah, got to self-publicise you.
How did Partick Thistle under 18s get on yesterday?
Well, our winning run was halted.
Have you heard this?
Unfortunately, there was an accident on the road, so the game got postponed.
Shouldn't really laugh then.
Well, no, certainly shouldn't. But we were travelling up 9:30 on the bus. We met all the way up, got just past Gleneagles, and the road was shut. We sat there for a couple of hours, and we had to about turn, come down. So it took us 3 hours round trip, and it resulted in us back at Firhill with the game cancelled.
Who were you meant to be playing?
Inverness in Dingwall. So work that one out. That's where Inverness play their games, at the Ross County training ground.
So as long as everyone is safe from the accident, secretly you weren't bothered that you had to come back down the road.
I always wanted to play, but see, when you're getting in the house at normal time rather than 10 o'clock at night, it's a bonus.
Right, no goals to tell you about in our featured matches, as you would expect. Rangers having a bit of possession early on, nothing really happening with it yet. Similar story at Easter Road, nothing happening there. Falkirk had a semi-early chance against Partick Thistle, but we are still goalless in our featured matches. So let's do this, Hugh, whilst we get the chance, shall we?
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I think both questions are tough today, but here's the first half. Go at it. Since 2019, 5 Scots have scored in the playoff round of a European competition for a Scottish club. Name them. Since 2019, 5 Scots have scored in the playoff round of a European competition for a Scottish club. Who are they?
I would be so bad at that, because trying to distinguish what's a playoff round, and you get kind of mixed up with all the rounds that go into the qualification process. The good thing is your knowledge is much better than mine, and I think you'll manage that. So at Clyde SSB, get all of your answers down on one tweet and send it over as quick as you can. It is a race, essentially. That's the aim of the game. So let's hear from you at Clyde SSB. Kwon gone on loan from Celtic to Hibs. No recall to replace Matt O'Reilly, and he has just hit the hospitality box window with a shot at Easter Road. So what can you do? He's got his chance for Ross County, by the way, and a very, very good save from Jack Butland. That was a brilliant run and shot from Ross County. Ronan Hale, the new striker who's come in from Irish football, he's looked lively since he came to the club. Big shoes to fill, obviously, in Simon Murray, but he had the defence backtracking. He couldn't have done much more with a shot, and it's a good double save from Jack Butland.
How many times? Jack Butland's a very good goalkeeper, we know that, but how many times have we said that in the opening stages of this season? Yeah, good save from Jack Butland. Rangers have needed him. Too busy.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
I'll tell you who has started the season on fire: Dundee, and Scott Tiffany as well. It's been a great story for him. Didn't start the derby, came on, made an impact, stayed in the team for the Hearts game, lit that up, and he's opened the scoring at Easter Road. I can just imagine, in fact I can almost hear from the other end of the M8 how the Hibs fans are taking this. And even more annoyingly for David Gray, it is another Hibs disaster at the back. They keep giving the ball to the opposition attackers. That's a problem, especially when they stick the ball in the back of the net.
They are eccentric at the back. You know,
that is the politest way you could possibly have put that.
The 3 goals at St Mirren, awful. And then the goal they conceded at Celtic Park last Sunday, when defender hits blind pass back to goalkeeper then hits it in off a Celtic player. So you know they are awful at the moment, and the worst thing possible was for Dundee to score first and score early into the bargain, because, as you say, Gordon, Easter Road is now a grumpy place.
They kind of do it every week, though. You'll remember St Mirren on the opening game of the league season. They did it then. Hughes Wright did it against Celtic in the Cup. Gave one to Kyogo in the league game at Celtic Park, but he couldn't take advantage of it. It is just a real constant theme.
It's almost like it's a cursed position for Hibs, because you take this back to last season. Different players, same mistakes, different manager as well. But in the modern game, when lots of managers, the majority, try and play it for the back, you need to make sure your players can play out from the back. And they look like they've replaced like Will Fish and Bashiri.
See, just on that, did you see his move?
£2 million.
Does this not just show you that you need it? It's all about the CV and where you've been. Will Fish, £2 million to Cardiff.
My goodness.
Having seen, with no offence, he seems like a lovely chap. But having seen Will Fish at Hibs, he's moving for £2 million.
He's not 2 million. Not in a million years.
The big problem for David Gray is that Bill Foley, head of the investment group who put £6 million into Hibs, has already said, I don't want him as manager. So unless this turns around quickly, David Gray's in bother.
Well, a long way to go in this one, so we'll see. Annan 0, Alloa 1, Stefan Skugel. There's a Scotsman who's captain of Charlton these days. Greg Docherty has put Charlton 1 up at home to Bolton. I wonder, Gordon, if Philippe Clement will be just a touch frustrated, because I'm not going all Hugh Keevins on you here. There are 11 minutes gone of this game, so let's exercise a touch of patience. But Rangers haven't really done much, and actually it's County that have threatened the most.
Yeah, Ross County's had the best opportunity. Jack Butland produces a good save. I think that Rangers will be so desperate just to get this game over, but get 3 points scored, and I think they will win the game like everybody else and get back to Ibrox as quick as possible. Hampden is doing them absolutely no favours. I'm not making excuses for them, because if they were playing in a cup tie at Hampden, a semi-final or a final against Ross County, you would back Rangers all day long. But I just think they need to get back to Ibrox.
Is there truth that this could be the last game then? I read some
it's
reports.
just if you look at the fixtures, so Celtic away next week, an international break, Dundee United away.
Okay.
And it was always Rangers. Nothing was ever confirmed. The Scottish FA's announcement actually said that they would play there until the international break. The update John Bennett gave said, at the end of September. But the 21st of September is the home game against Dundee in the Cup. And as things stand, that game has been announced as venue TBC. So I think there's a hope there that something happens amongst, when I say a hope amongst the Rangers fans. And you never know, but we will wait and see. I've just ruined my stat I was going to give you. So Man City have equalised, but they were 1-0 down at home to Ipswich. Newly promoted Ipswich. Erling Haaland has scored a penalty to pull one level. It's not even that exciting. It just tickled me this morning because it just shows you how things change with the money that come into the game and the English Premier League money. I read on Twitter this morning that the head-to-head record between Ipswich and Man City is in favour of Ipswich.
I can imagine. I can believe that.
Ipswich have beaten Man City 28 times, and Man City have only beaten them 23. See, before the big bucks came along.
Ipswich have spent £100 million this summer on players. Ipswich, £100 million, and Ed Sheeran's put a few bob in at the same time.
Oh, that's right. He's involved in it.
By the way, they looked okay last week. Was it against Liverpool for large periods of that? Brave, the way they were pressing, play good
They'll
football.
Get relegated.
By the way, it's a hard start. Liverpool at home and Man City away.
They're gone already.
Ange wasn't happy the other night, was he? He looked exasperated when Spurs conceded late on. He's without his big money striker, but Tottenham have taken the lead against Everton. Oh, and sorry about your head-to-heads, you'll need to add one on. Kevin De Bruyne has Man City 2-1 up against Ipswich. Anyway, Mark, this will be the talk of Firhill this week, so you'll need to pay attention. There are still Partick Thistle fans stuck outside the Falkirk Stadium.
Why?
Can't get in, too many of them. Popular game.
Just shows you, Mark. I tell you.
No, I don't mean there's too many. I mean, like, too many in terms of for Falkirk to handle it currently. Whatever they're doing wrong, turnstiles, I don't know, but they're stuck outside. I can see a picture of a queue of Thistle fans.
Is it not fair for Fraser to get down,
3.
just hold the game up a little bit and let the fans get in?
That is disappointing, because that's one of our best stadiums at that level. Falkirk, since they've done the redevelopment work in there, it's a terrific venue. So that's disappointment
for Rangers. Gordon, you don't want to give fans who are already just a bit grumpy anything to hang on to. And Rangers, James Tavernier's given it away a couple of times in the box, and then Rabbi Matondo just tried a floated pass to James Tavernier that goes right out for a throw-in. So there's a real slackness there early on.
Yeah, I don't think the manager will be happy. He has made changes today. I've got to say, I'm a massive Tavernier fan, but I don't think he started the season particularly well. I think he's very slack just now. Matondo for me is, I always look at Matondo as an impact player. I think coming off the bench he gives you something. I've never really seen him starting a game and been absolutely outstanding. But look, it's early doors at Rangers, but you always want a quick goal because it settles everything down.
Man City 3, Ipswich 1. But it's also sort of where Rangers are at, Mark. I think people are entitled to say they don't think Rabbi Matondo is in the strongest starting 11, but there are no other obvious issues. It's not like Rangers are leaving out a superstar in place of Rabbi Matondo. I think Oscar Cortez is due back in initial training work next week, so that helps things, but it's just not an area that they're blessed.
No, certainly not. And like Philip, come on, even though he can't bring players in, I'm pretty sure he'll have a list that he wants to bring in if possible. And I'm sure people in the wide area would be part of that list, because it's a poor selection. You look at Matondo, he's second choice to Cortez. Tierney on the other side looks okay. I'm not quite in the Hugh Keevins fan club yet, but it looks like he's got something. But who's the backup to him? McCausland. I'm not being harsh on the young man because he's a young player, but if there was better players there, would he be getting regular game time? Again, I would doubt that, because I have to look at what he produces when he plays. It's not very much. So it's a problem area. And yet, when I say that, you've still got a guy that's up front who gets all the stick, who still scores goals when he's now got probably the best service to him. So it's an area that probably Rangers fans wish they were stronger.
An announcement on your teaser, Hugh. It's 6 answers that we're looking for, not 5. So we're just keeping you on your toes. You know we like to do that quite often. Just keeping you on your toes. 6 Scotsmen since 2019 who've scored in the playoff round of a European competition for a Scottish club. 6. It wasn't hard enough.
The other incentive that Rangers can't afford to overlook today is that Celtic arguably have a tougher fixture tomorrow than Rangers have today. So that Rangers really need the win and hope that Celtic, in the immediate aftermath of Matt O'Reilly's move, slip up.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And they do have the lead. It's Rangers 1, Ross County 0. It is Cyril Dessers, another player who we said could do with a productive afternoon, made it. It was Tom Lawrence, great work from him, slipped it through. Dessers took his time, provided the finish, and Rangers are up and running.
My prediction is starting to look great, isn't it?
Your top scorer.
Yeah. He's producing the goods. Listen, I'm delighted for that lad, because I do agree with Mark. I think he takes a lot of stick, and it's just it doesn't matter what he's doing. If he's playing well, fine, and then just that one mistake, maybe not holding the ball up or whatever it may be, the Rangers fans are very quick to go on to him, but he's starting to find the back of net, this guy, and he's playing with a lot of confidence. I think he's getting better and better. 22 last season. I think he's got to go by that this season.
First caller last night on Super Scoreboard wanted Celtic to sign Dessers.
Yeah, that's what I would do. He's Rangers' best player.
Yeah, I can't see it, I have to say. But Mark, we did mention it, Tom Lawrence, so credit where it's due. He's just not been creative enough over the piece since he came to Rangers, but he does really well. Good footwork, slips it to Dessers, and it's a brilliant finish. Yeah,
without doubt. Good work from Lawrence, you're right, because it's a hard one to take on that kind of turn, and he spins away. He's still got a lot to do. I think Dessers' movement's good. Actually, when you see where he starts to where he peels off, he knows where the space is.
He was offside, came back on, and he come back and he timed his run perfectly well.
We might have a second for Dundee. They're checking it for offside. It was Lyle Cameron, a deflected shot. David Gray has got everything crossed that this is given as offside, but we'll have a look. But here in Glasgow, Rangers 1, Ross County 0. Cyril Dessers, and that can often be the hardest part, is getting in front. What we have seen this season, though, it doesn't make it a foregone conclusion. Rangers dominated early against Motherwell, took the lead, and it still ended up a difficult end in some ways. So I suppose the key is just really hammering home that advantage.
Unless I'm wrong, I totally agree with you, Gordon, but they don't go out and really stamp their authority after the first goal and go and give a team a hiding. But Ross County, probably low in confidence, going down to Spartans, get knocked out the cup. They're at Hampden today against Rangers. Rangers taking an early lead. This could be a long day. I fancy Rangers to win this comfortably this afternoon, but Hibs are in real trouble if this goal goes in.
Hugh, remind us of your teaser while we can, please.
Yes, there are 6 Scots who have scored in the playoff round of a European competition for a Scottish club. Who are they? There
are 6. Remember, it probably still says 5 on Twitter, but it is 6. I'm looking through the answers coming in, and some of them are pretty good, I have to say. Really good. Michael Smith wants to throw in. Where are we? Hold on, there's a couple. By the way, I think everyone's getting them all right, just maybe missing out the odd one. Charlie wants to throw in Scott Arfield.
Throw him back out.
He's Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, he plays his football for Canada. He's not on the list. Mikey Johnson, similarly, plays his football for
the Republic of
Ireland. He's not on your list anyway, but keep the guesses going at Clyde SSB. That is where you send them. Rangers had a big chance. It should really be 2-0. We've just praised Tom Lawrence, but this is now a huge miss. He goes through and goal and drags it wide of the post.
But it's all consistent with Rangers turning the screw. They may have had the occasional misplaced pass, Robbie Matondo, etc., but they are gradually turning the screw against a side who cannot cope with it.
No goal for Dundee, so it remains 1
big break
0. Queen's Park are 2-0 up at Airdrie. Zach Rudden with the goal there, so the goals are going in.
What's happened to Airdrie this season?
They're in a little
5-0 at Ayr, 2-0 down at home.
They're just struggling a little
Battered in the cup, of course.
Yeah.
Dundee.
They don't want to lose too much ground. Obviously, if Ayr United can get a win today at home against Raith Rovers, But they're sitting there fifth, 3 points. It's not looking good for them this season.
23 minutes gone.
Written them off.
I've written them off already.
23 gone, and there are still Partick Thistle fans queuing outside
that's
the stadium.
unacceptable.
Yeah, of course.
You should get a
At what point
reduction in your
are
money.
you going up the road?
Well, that's unacceptable. You think of the travel involved in
I'd
that,
love
and you
that,
bought
mate.
your ticket.
I'd love that.
Well-
Turn up at a game, you can't again just go, I'm away here.
Well, you bought your ticket. You would love that if you were employed and you were still getting paid for your shift.
You know,
because you
it's-
turned
I
up.
know this is an alien concept to you, but some people pay their hard-earned money to go to football games.
Do you not pay there, or do you? But obviously they've not paid in yet, so they've not lost any money.
Well, that's a fair point, but they might have bought tickets
Was
in
it pay
advance.
at the gate, is it?
But you know, when you're talking about the possibility of Falkirk back-to-back promotions, you have got to be better than that on match day. You simply have to be better than that. If you want to play in the top division, what would happen if Celtic or Rangers were playing?
Some of these turnstiles aren't cash at the gate anymore. You have to do this through either an app or online before you
Maybe
go.
a one-off, because Hearts played there last week, didn't they, in the Cup? So with no issues with Hearts, and Hearts take a big following. So look,
Yeah, I think by
let's
the looks
cut
of
them
it,
some
the
slack, or
stand-
move them back to Brockville.
The stand behind the goal where the away fans are, there is a big section of it sort of closed off, as if they weren't expecting that to be needed, and it's making it a bit slower for everyone getting in. But we're now more than a quarter of the way through the game, and some Partick Thistle fans can't get in. That's not ideal. They're not missing much in front of goal, but that's maybe not the point. Oh dear, and it's just got worse for Partick Thistle, not in the sense that they've conceded, but Ben Stanway has been sent off, 2 yellows already, and the second for simulation. Looks embarrassed as he trudges off, and understandably, you're already on a booking, and then you take a dive and get yourself sent off. That is not ideal.
You've been taking training this week?
He's a nice kid, Ben, as well. Good player. Feel for him, but
He's
should
a bit
know
of a
better.
diver.
He's still not as good
He's
as
a good honest pro.
Joe Wright was
Can't be
off.
honest, he dived.
Joe Wright was off for 2 yellows
Strong
in
breeze.
16 minutes.
That's right,
so
yeah.
Strong breeze.
He's only a wee lad, so you never know. It has been windy this morning.
You got booked for diving once, didn't you?
It was a farce though, because I clearly felt contact on my heel.
What game was it?
It was at Ibrox.
Oh, that's right, a nice
Aye.
small under the radar
You
game.
know, see, if we had VAR back in those days, it would have been hauled up, or the referee would have.
You think so?
There's contact there. I heard it
from.
You heard it. Who?
I don't know.
Pappage.
I don't know. I would have been. I used to breeze by him all the time.
destroyed you. Who's the other one that used to destroy you?
Oh, Big Kuzan. That was only
he
once.
loved a Friday. He
That
used to
was
go out on a
once.
Friday night knowing he was playing against you on a Saturday, mate.
Another chance for Rangers. Dessers tackled in the box. It fell to Matondo. It did clip the top of the bar and has gone over it. He probably should do better, but this is good stuff from Rangers. They're very much on the front foot. They're a goal in front and looking to add to it very soon.
Jack Butland had a great save early on, but he appears to be a spectator now because the traffic is only heading one way.
That sounds like exactly what Rangers fans needed, to see a performance in the first 45 minutes that kind of blows a team away and creates plenty of chances. And they've taken one. The only issue I think some will have is you can make that an easy afternoon for yourself. If Lawrence takes his chance, Matondo hitting the bar, you get another one, you think Ross County might fold. So
yeah, too big enough to see them. No
Jamie
problem.
Murphy's hit the post for Ayr as they look to try and take the lead. Another reminder of your teaser, please, Hugh.
Okay, there are 6 Scots who have scored in the playoff round of a European competition for a Scottish club. Who are they?
Jason Kerr.
No.
Michael O'Halloran.
No, sir.
Okay, hopefully that helps you, because those are popular wrong answers. They were third qualification rounds, not the playoff round. So the round before. Ange Ball is working today. Tottenham 2, Everton 0. Son has the second. Dundee are by far the better team at Easter Road. Hibs looking very disjointed.
Is David enjoying his afternoon
Yep,
at Easter Road?
suitably.
That's good. That's good. I like to hear that.
Well, David Gray's had the break with the goal chopped off, but this is clearly a project that's in trouble. You know, whether it's the Cup against Celtic, now that's understandable. Celtic Park, goals down early on, defensive laxity all over the place, and to lose to Celtic at Easter Road on a day when Celtic played very well and scored good goals, understandable. The other stuff isn't. The battering from St Mirren down at home to Dundee, and an investment party £6 million put into the club who don't want the manager there.
It doesn't get remembered too much if you go through in the League Cup, which in fairness to Hibs they did, but worth bearing in mind they lost 1-0 to Kelty in the League Cup group stages as well. So there have been signs there, although they absolutely romped their other group stage games. But yeah, it doesn't help when you play Celtic twice at the start of a season.
No, difficult start for David Gray. You've got to give him a bit of time. He's brought in players as well and need bedded in. But you know, in this football, the patience nowadays, we've seen a manager getting sacked after one game, Murray at Wraith Rovers, incredibly. So you're never safe, but he needs to get 3 points
I think
somewhere.
Sometimes the issue with appointments like David Gray is he's been there at the club before, on the coaching team before, and there isn't that real freshness. The players who stay at the club just see it as maybe the same with a few things tweaked. I know he's well respected, but just the situation he finds himself in, I think it'd be hard.
I know it's a boring counter argument. Maybe they just don't have very good players currently, even though they've tried to bring new ones in.
I think defensively they're a shambles going. I really do. I don't think they've improved that from.
How can you keep making the same mistakes? That's what I mean. So some of the ideas seem the same as the previous regime. When you've got the same member of the coaching team, you know, you've brought in new players, but can they play it from the back?
One of the new players is Nicky Cadden. He had a free kick, but it was blocked 25 yards out. Hamilton Accies 1, Dunfermline 0. Reagan Tumulty. Noticed a statement from Dunfermline this morning. They're up for sale, aren't they, from their German owners? Just a sort of holding statement, if you like. No real update, saying they're working with all parties to try and find a solution. They're 1-0 down to the Accies. Partick Thistle are becoming frustrated. Kyle Turner and Rico Diak, who does appear to be on the referee's team lines this week because he's been booked. So update your Comet system.
Juicy Turner's been booked as well.
Yeah.
No, got off to a good start, Partick.
What are you teaching them there? They all seem
just
a bit
aggression,
a bit angry, a bit frustrated.
Sing song on the bus.
That's what I was doing. I thought, by the way, you know, when you're a young player,
what do you do?
And the game gets called off, you're gutted, aren't you? But when we told the young boys yesterday, they were buzzing because they get the day off school. They've all had the day off school to go up.
And then,
so you tell them they were all up the back of the bus. What an atmosphere it was going back down there.
Playing I Spy.
Oh, brilliant. I would have been devastated if the game was off in those days.
I loved that.
When a game was off?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And your professional career, even when you were younger?
Oh, yeah, I quite liked that.
Why? Surely there must have been a time you liked playing football.
No, really, if I'm honest.
But when you were younger and didn't get paid for it, it wasn't a job.
Listen, when you're a kid at school, you like getting about, because I was always the best player, and you had your own ball and you played and you scored goals, great. But when you step up to professional, it's a waste of Saturday.
No offence to everyone listening,
especially Aberdeen away, because that was a waste of a couple hours.
What did I say to you about low points in broadcasting?
I hated that.
Anyway, Hibs, although you know we're talking about playing out when you can't, but sometimes the alternative's not there either. There was no movement. The goalie's then forced to launch it straight out the park. Loud jeers from the Easter Road stand. So it's not as simple as, oh, you know, Hibs are overdoing it, and sometimes they just need to get it up the park, because if you do that aimlessly, that doesn't work either.
A second goal for Dundee empties the place. They'll be off to see the Edinburgh Fringe rather than anything to do with Hibs.
Last day today, isn't it?
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go through.
I'm devastated. I was going to go through tomorrow.
See the tidy up. The street sweepers.
Everybody's chucked it. They're all the way home.
You're quite cultured, Mark Wilson. I'd imagine you've been.
I have been, not this time now. My mum and dad was there last week. Went to the tattoo up at the castle. Loved it. Yeah, I'd got them tickets. By the way,
do you need to pay for it?
155 quid.
What? You're kidding me on.
I swear.
All you could do is moan about the cost of things
exactly.
on the show.
I wouldn't have paid that.
You don't pay for anything.
I do pay for quite a lot. I paid to go on the Fairmont the other day there, and it was 60 quid, and I nearly had a heart attack.
It's just like just listen to two old guys just moaning at a bar.
We expect more freebies. We've already got golf freebies today.
I love that.
We need more.
This is a serious, well respected radio show.
Yeah.
Just a vehicle for you to whinge about having to spend
your money.
We don't
have the finances that you and Hugh have. You know what I mean? So we're skint.
What are the two Muppets on the balcony called again?
Statler,
That's the
Waldorf.
ones.
Mark and Daz.
I don't moan as much as you. I'm pretty.
I moan
you
when
moan about everything.
I'll tell
to
you,
pay
since
over
we're
the
on
top.
the topic of low points for broadcasting, genuinely, this has stayed with me all week. The other night, see when you dipped your pen into your boiling hot Lemsip and then burnt Mark Wilson's neck with it. I can't, genuinely, like, I thought I had seen it all from you two. I watched it back when I got home. I showed my wife. I sent it to my mates. I just baffled at the stupidity of it on live radio.
Ridiculous.
Not
63.
Hugh, he was annoying me. I'm 62. Stop saying I'm 63.
62, Hugh.
He was annoying me, Hugh. Right, and I thought,
boiling water, pen in, right on his neck.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I got a fright as well, and I've never been so close to swearing on air in my life. I mean, how stupid, and it did burn me. See, for the rest of the show, you know, that way I didn't know if it was in my head or if I was actually scolded. I kept saying to him, if I get a red mark in my neck.
If it had been the other way round, the Dazzler would have gone to the lawyer for industrial injury.
Oh yeah, I would have failed
compensation.
I'd have been rolling about the ground. They'd have had to come in with a stretcher for me, Hugh.
That's a glimpse of what the room was like for 12 days in Germany. Stuff like that. Just
injuries in the workplace. Anyway, Hibs are threatening from a Lewis Miller long throw. It's about all they've got at the moment. But Simon Murray clears from under the bar, and he's involved again because he's now booked for taking out Cadden. So Simon Murray, former Hibs player, of course, a yellow card on his return to Easter Road. But Dundee do lead by a goal to nil. Rangers lead by a Cyril Dessers goal to nil. There's no point, Gordon, in always looking for the negatives, because they've been there a lot for Rangers at the start of the season. Having said that, the fans probably would really be looking to make this a 2-0 lead going into the break, just because they've been so dominant. And it just leaves that possibility that Philippe Clement himself said that he got to kill games off quicker.
Yeah, and I totally agree with the manager. He'll be frustrated as well. He'll be looking at it and think, do you know what? We're playing very well. We're attacking this team, but they're not getting the end product. They're not blowing teams away, which you should be doing, because Ross County can't have went to Hampden with any confidence after last weekend. They've went a goal behind, and you think to yourself, right, okay, if Rangers keep going, get quality balls in the box, and they've missed one or two gilt-edged chances, you've got to say. But I think the Rangers manager's hoping for another goal.
Talking about Hibs playing from the back, someone sent me the clip of Tottenham's second goal, Jordan Pickford having an absolute mare. You'll want to check that out for a laugh on Match of the Day if you're not a Everton fan, of course.
The Toffees are having a nightmare.
3-0 to Brighton, day one. Sean Dyche already on the slippery slope.
Would have been 5 if Matt O'Reilly had played, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Still early on in the season.
You wouldn't want to mess with him. That
Big
voice.
Sean would say.
I told you I'd seen him at Silverstone last year, and he was having a fair old day. He was spilling drinks left, right and centre, but nobody dared say anything to him.
Brighton, Ipswich next week, incidentally. Sorry, Celtic fans, I know this is really rubbing it in and getting ahead of ourselves, but would that be a debut for Matt O'Reilly? You could go down. We could send you on Matt O'Reilly watch, since you are a Seagulls fan.
How could you put them straight into a team? They're flying.
Why not?
They're flying.
Well, why pay £25 million for him and not play him?
Played 40 for his pal the other day, didn't he? So,
right, so that's not a lot of money there. And plus the fact, look, they've beat Manchester United today. They've beat the Toffees 3-0. They're flying.
I'll give you 10 minutes off the bench. Get shoved to wave them on.
I totally agree with you, Gordon. I think they'll bed them in off the bench.
Long range shot from Sidibe for St Johnstone goes past the far post. Not quite the blistering start to that game that we saw at Tannadice in the Dundee derby at the start of the season. A bit of a quieter affair.
Well, again, I think United look okay going forward. It's just maybe defensively they're susceptible of losing goals. But St Johnstone, I've been surprised with St Johnstone.
12 front are decent.
Well, often that'll carry you in a season if you get two that you can keep fit but are mobile, they're quick, score a goal here and there, and they've got that. So I just wonder, I've got that one down as a draw. I think that'll be a 1-1. I think
I fancy the Super Jays.
Super Jays,
yeah. I fancy St Johnstone.
How would they called? The Super Jays.
They're called in that in my day.
No breakthrough yet in that one. Still 1-0 to Dundee at Easter Road. Still 1-0 to Rangers against Ross County at Hampden. Down the leagues, the big talking point from the Falkirk Partick Thistle game,
it's still in,
has not been in front of goal. It's been outside the stands where a lot of Partick Thistle fans can't get in. And Partick Thistle down to 10 men. Rangers passed up another big chance a couple of moments ago as well, by the way. It was Rabbi Matondo. There was a ball over the top, he got through, headed it wide. I think
You've got to start putting these chances in the back.
I think he may have been offside anyway.
Was he?
But I'm not sure the flag went up. It's one of those where the player hopes the flag goes up. Yes, and it did. It was offside. Wraith Rovers are down to 10 men as well.
Who gets sent off?
Indiscipline sweeping the championship this afternoon. I don't know what's going on there. It was Sean Byrne who handled in the box.
The weather's iffy. That always gets them.
Penalty air.
Oh.
So it must have been right. Must have been sort of denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity with the hand, like deliberately, sort of thing, because they've tried to
save. That's a dying art now. Remember, you used to see that quite often. Somebody on the line and making a save.
Yeah,
you don't see it
because they've tweaked that a bit this season. Do you remember
some of the goalies, don't they?
Remember at Ibrox towards the end of last season, Kilmarnock, Joe Wright got sent off because the ball hit his arm on the line, and everyone felt, that's quite harsh. So this season that would only be a yellow.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be a red this season.
I think that's justified.
It was the right decision at the time, by the way. It's just they've tweaked things a bit. Anton Dowds is going to take a penalty for Ayr United.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And that's a big swing in that one. Wraith Rovers down to 10 men. Ayr United scoring from the penalty. And it's 4-4 in the league for Anton Dowds this season. A great start for him.
And it's possibly 4-4 for Ayr United in terms of wins. And Scott Brown and his team setting a blistering pace there. And Roger Hanna describing a ground that's much changed from when Gordon Dalziel was the manager there. And they seem to be heading in an upward direction.
Do you know, I've still got the photos of the new stadium under my bed from all the time I was there.
What do you mean?
Because we were going to build a new stadium.
Oh, like the artist's impression type
absolutely
thing.
Beautiful.
So when you binned all your medals from under your bed, you kept the pictures of
the photo, yeah.
You don't strike me as the sort of guy to take those architect images home with you.
I get handed them, Mark, and I had to put them in the house somewhere. I kept it a secret.
What other bits of paperwork do you keep under your bed? Don't answer that. John Souttar has a header tipped over from a corner. St Johnstone thought maybe they had a shout for a penalty. VAR took a look. Trapanovsky brought down Matty Smith, but in the end the officials say no to that one. So we're in that sort of last 5 minutes. Rangers are definitely worth their lead. They're probably worth more than one, but they've not found it yet. So we'll see what the last few minutes of the half has in store. East Fife 1, Stirling Albion 0, East Fife 1.
There'll be an element of frustration for Philippe Clement because he'll know, he's looking at it, he knows that they're the dominant side, but chances being passed up and things of a close nature like John Souttar. But if you go in at 1-0, it's still that insufficient lead. You're still liable for the sucker punch, although Ross County have done nothing since the early chance that brought out a good save from Jack Butland.
He's surely got to be happier, with this 45 minutes than he has with previous ones. No doubt about it. If you're creating chances and look more fluid like they have done.
The first half against Motherwell was okay, to be fair.
It was okay.
It just fell apart quite a bit after that.
Reports I think he'd be happier with today, but it's can they sustain that? And that's been the problem. They fall out of games and allow the opposition in.
Nicky Cadden's going to have another go from a similar free kick in terms of distance for Hibs to try and pull them level. He would take anything, set piece, mistake, absolutely anything to try and get level on a
desperate to get back in the
difficult spot.
Desperate to get back in, especially at home.
Miles over the bar this time.
Yeah, unlucky. And they'll have a big crowd there. I like the crowd at Easter Road. They could turn out in good numbers, Mark.
I think it'll be starting to dwindle if they keep playing like this.
The crowds have been great this year.
Decent crowd today.
You look about the grounds and you see it on TV.
Gabriel can tell us how Hampden's looking, because that's obviously been the subject of much speculation, debate, because the European games, the St Johnstone game, not on the season ticket. So clearly they were particularly small. Much better today because it is in the season ticket. So much better, not full, but better.
Well, as I say, the Rangers, you would have to think, surely they would go on and eventually build on what they have, and then hope that a St Mirren side at home who can get a bit lively, big crowd there for them tomorrow, and you always have to work for anything you get at Paisley, so they have to hope that Celtic minus O'Reilly are temporarily unnerved.
There's some good fixtures tomorrow, Hugh.
There are still about 10,000 empty seats at Hampden though, so there's still
but what
a
time's
number that
Hampden hold?
just don't fancy it.
Is it 50?
It's very similar to
Is
Ibrox,
yeah. Listen, it's everybody complains about getting in and out with the traffic and everything like that as well. I don't think Rangers supporters do like the fact that they're at Hampden, Gordon. But to be fair, the ones that have turned out today, well done to them.
Well, as we said, it might be the final league game there. We'll wait and see what happens at the start of next month. But there are 2 away games coming up. There's an international break coming up, so it could well be that this is the final time we have this conversation. But we'll wait and see. Stenhousemuir have equalised against Cove Rangers. Corey O'Donnell, he's 5-2 up at Stirling Albion. Rangers do always just have to be careful, because Ross County did break forward, and it was another good effort, another decent save, like one you would expect him to make. But it was Aidan Denham who drove through the middle, hit a low shot. Jack Butland saves it. So Rangers need to be careful.
And apparently, I don't know why they do that. I've seen Rangers doing this a few times. It came from apparently
Rangers
their corner.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the team breaks up the park and puts them under a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, it's not a let off, but a warning sign, you would say, for Rangers. The half-time whistles are starting to go. Airdrie 0, Queen's Park 2, which tells me, Hugh, we should probably do this.
Okay.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Since 2019, 6 Scots have scored in the playoff round of a European competition for a Scottish club. They are Nicky Devlin, did it for Aberdeen against BK Häcken. Lawrence Shankland did it for Hearts against Pauk. Lewis Ferguson, Aberdeen versus Qarabag. James Forrest, Celtic versus AIK. Lewis Morgan in the same game versus AIK. And Chris Kane, St Johnstone against Lask in 2021.
I'll tell you who's won. We've got all sorts happening here.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
This is exactly what Rangers needed. It's 2-0 just before the break, and it is Rabbi Matondo. They've had to make a change. Leon Balogun's gone off, Mohamed Diamande's come on, Dujon Sterling's gone to centre back, but Rabbi Matondo's scored, as has
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Martin Boyle of Hibs. They really needed it. It was a free kick about 23 yards out, an absolute belter just before half time, and Hibs are level. And in the big game in Glasgow, Gordon, we said it before, just one of these like cliches. 2-0 at half time is so different from 1. That's what Rangers needed. It's kind of what they've lacked this season,
and it's what the manager wanted. They've been the better side, Gordon. Yes, there are 1 or 2 warning signs for Ross County, but that goal surely puts this game to bed now. Now the big question thing now for the manager and the players is, can they go out and get a real good comfortable win and a few goals in the second half?
Yeah, without doubt. You know, a good way to finish a half, makes it more comfortable. And that, yeah, you're right, they need a bit of daylight so that they can actually relax and enjoy a game rather than being probably on edge all the time. So that gives them a wee bit of space. And over at Easter Road, I mean, what a time to score a goal just before half time. What a different reaction you're going to get from the crowd.
No one had mentioned Martin Boyle's name.
Yeah.
You brought us periodic information from Easter Road. Martin Boyle was never mentioned, and like all strikers who are good, he pops up.
Half time at Falkirk. Here's Fraser.
It is, it's half time. It's Falkirk 0, Partick Thistle 0. The game really hasn't quite got going. I really promised to start, but it's been a bit stop-start since then. A few injury breaks or head knocks, number of yellow cards. Partick down to 10 men after Ben Stanway was sent off, picking up 2 yellow cards, but all the chances were for Falkirk. Really good bright start to the game. Partick Thistle positive, pushing forward. early on. Falkirk with the first chance, so in 4 minutes. Ethan Ross cut in from the left hand side past a couple of defenders. Curled his 18-yard shot inches wide. It looked like the goalkeeper had beaten, and Ross had been very lively throughout his cause. By Siri Williams, all sorts of problems on the wing. His fellow winger Callum Miller was next up, a low shot clutched by Roberts at his near post as Falkirk began to dominate the possession. Tate and Spencer, excellent. Miller again cut in from the right hand side, hit again, left foot shot to the near post. Even better save from Roberts to his left to just push the ball past the post. This was not really creating much. New signing Casper Nielsen had a chance, he took too long and allowed Sean Mackey to block. Then Ben Stanway for a reckless challenge, and Enrico Diak were booked in quick succession. And this came back to haunt Stanway in 25 minutes when he was given a second yellow card for simulation inside the Falkirk box. And to be fair to the lad, he had his jersey over his face. He looked very upset and embarrassed as he walked off the park. And what was going to be a tough day for the Jags, Cole Donaldson with a fierce shot beaten away by Miles Roberts. In 30 minutes, Thistle's first shot on target. Good first touch by Rico Diak in the box. He got his shot away quickly, was denied by a really good low save to his right by Nicky Hogarth. But Falkirk pushed forward towards the break. Cole Donaldson tested Roberts with a fierce shot before Sean Mackey hit the bar with a 25-yard rocket. It's been pretty tetchy on and off the pitch. Thistle fans unhappy with referee Lloyd Wilson. Thistle players and fans becoming frustrated. The players just need to be careful. 3 of them are on yellow cards already. So back to the ball. 45 minutes ahead for Partick Thistle here. Half time, Falkirk 0, Partick Thistle 0.
Half time, Hampden. Here's Gabriel.
Rangers 2, Ross County 0 at the interval. Cyril Dess as well taking goal, put them in control. Rabin Matondo doubled the advantage just before the break. In the 18th minute, it was Dessers who put the hosts in front. His 4th goal of the season. Great work from Tom Lawrence in midfield. He took the ball so well on the turn, beat his man with a shimmy, slipped the ball through to the striker. The Nigerian took his time, tucked it away expertly. Lawrence then had the chance 2 minutes later to double the lead. Dessers returned the favour, but Lawrence pulled the shot wide with his left foot. Really should have scored. Rabin Matondo rattled the bar a few minutes later. He should have done much better, but he did get his goal 1 minute before the break. A good ball in from the right. Matondo got in front of his man to turn the ball in from close range. You've got to say, Rangers have looked really dangerous on the break with County so open at the back. Real attacking intent, much better and more fluid going forward. Created plenty of chances and probably should be more than 2-0 up, Gordon. Ronan Hale for the visitors forced Jack Butland into an early double save, but other than a late Adam Dennell break and good strike, Ross County have offered nothing going forward. Philippe Clement will be so pleased his side have their second here as the rain starts to hammer down at the National Stadium. Rangers in total control. Half time at Hampden. Rangers 2, Ross County 0.
It's also half time at Ayr United Wraith Rovers. Roger Hannah.
Yes, Ayr United 1, Wraith Rovers 0 at the break. Gordon reserved lead for Scott Brown's Championship leaders. It could have been ahead in 19 minutes. Marco Roos, the Romanian midfielder, having a shot blocked in the penalty area. Then 6 minutes later, Jamie Murphy hit the outside of the post from an acute angle. But the game exploded in controversy after 38 minutes. It all began a dreadful kick out from Wraith goalkeeper Kevin Dabrowski, who's trying to play a pass into his deep-lying midfielder. The ball get pinched on the edge of the Wraith box. Jay Henderson and Anton Dowds went in on goal. Sean Byrne tried to get back, he slipped, he was on the ground. Henderson was poised for a shot and Byrne just handled it away out of his reach, so he couldn't get the shot and goal. The referee, instead, to his credit, initially wave play on Anton Dowds, got a shot in. Dabrowski made a terrific save to push it behind, but the referee brought play back for a penalty kick. He flashed a straight red card at Wraith midfielder Byrne, and it gave Anton Dowds the chance for a 4th goal in 4 championship games this season, and he sent Dabrowski the wrong way from the spot. It could have been 2-0 before the break. Young 17-year-old right back Dylan Watchwood in his first league start for Ayr crossed the ball into the danger area. There was a complete fresh air kick by George Oakley, but it fell for his strike partner Dowds, whose shot was blocked at close range. Otherwise this would have been completely gone for managerless Wraith. At the break they're still in it, but only just. Ayr United 1, Wraith Rovers 0.
Also half time between Hibs and Dundee. David Friel.
Yeah, half-time Gordon, Hibs 1, Dundee 1. Quite remarkable first half. It's level at the break. I don't know how, but I think Hibs boss David Gray will be a relieved man right now. He does his side to cut out the basic mistakes at the back, but it was more of the same as Dundee took the lead through Scott Tiffany in 9 minutes. However, Martin Boyle's wonderful free kick in 44 minutes. What a goal it was. Has hauled Hibs right back in. Dundee have been excellent. They've been by far the better team. Really slick, energetic, but they have been rash with fouls on the edge of the box, and Hibs finally made them pay with that Boyle goal. As I said, Hibs gifted Dundee the opening goal. Jordan Abita appeared appeared to have an easy clearance but kicked it straight to Lyle Cameron. He showed terrific composure, found Scott Tiffany 10 yards out, and his finish was outstanding. 10 minutes later, Dundee thought they'd made it 2-0. Lyle Cameron again, deflected shot, it flew past Joseph Bussick, but Seb Palmer holding it straight just inches offside in the build-up. It was such a close call, and ref Colin Stephen ruled it out. Hibs did start to threaten from set pieces round about the half hour mark. Nicky Cadden wasted a couple of free kicks in the edge of the box before Martin Boyle took over after Billy Cometio's wild challenge in Joe Newell. It was a really bad tackle. Boyle grabbed the ball and he curled his shot into the top corner in 44 minutes. What a goal. Immediately the mood was lifted at Easter Road. Dundee have been a better team, but Hibs are now right back in this game. Half time, Hibs 1, Dundee 1.
So that's the half-time whistles going pretty much everywhere. I forgot to tell you who had won the first half teaser because we get interrupted by so many late goals, but Derek FM was in third place, Matondo Prop in second, and Michael Smith was the winner. I will give you a half-time report from Dundee United against St Johnstone next.
The fastest goals, the expert opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel in the studio. We've given you half-time reports from all but one of our featured matches. So all that's left for us to do is bring you the story from Dundee United against St Johnstone with Dave Galloway.
Half time at Tannadice, Dundee United 0, St Johnstone 0. A lively enough start without much being created, and neither keeper with much to do. Play went from end to end but was really scrappy. For Dundee United, David Babunski volleyed way over from just outside the box, and Saints' Matty Smith saw his effort from just inside his own half go well off target following Jack Walton's miss kick. Some nice passages of play from both teams, but the final ball, well, it really was lacking. The visitors had a penalty claim rejected after a VAR review when Matty Smith went down under Christian Trapanovsky's challenge, and Adamas Sidibe was booked for handball after a long ball up the park. And then Saints defender, as the interval approached, Andre Raymond, had an unbelievable miss from just a few yards out. Benji Kimpioka went round the keeper, hit the post from a tight angle, and then Raymond, well, he somehow managed to shoot over the bar. A competitive first half, but really lacking quality. Dundee United 0, St Johnstone 0.
The half-time break then getting towards its conclusion. Will there be substitutions made? Will there be big managerial team talks happening? We'll find out soon. We'll go back to Hampden after these.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast
with Lucas Land Rover. Looking to sell your Land Rover? Contact them today for a no-obligation quotation.
Get set Portsmouth. Barclays is serving up an ace in your local park. We've teamed up with the LTA to bring you free tennis sessions because we believe tennis is for everyone. So next weekend, you could be playing tennis absolutely free. Anyone can play with access to courts, coaching and equipment provided. There's a session near you in Havant. Search Barclays Free Park Tennis to register and sign up. Barclays, here for every goal.
She's off. The corner shop is in sight. The National Lottery sign is there, and she's heading right for it. Look at Rebecca. She's making a real difference just by playing the National Lottery. Her numbers help fund Team GB and Paralympics GB athletes, powering their journey to Paris, one ticket at a time. Oh, just look at her go. Unbelievable stuff. Changing lives like it's a walk to the shops.
The National Lottery, changing lives every day. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
Oh, teething. A lot keeps parents up at night. But it won't be the lower prices at Asda's Baby and Toddler event starting August 27th. 830ml of Aveeno Baby Bath was £7, now £4.30. And a 12-pack of Pampers Wipes was £12, now £8. Join our Baby and Toddler Club to get 50p back in your Asda Rewards cash pot when you spend £5 on selected baby items. Asda, that's more like it. Selected stores subject to availability. Requires app, email and registration. Mobile charges and exclusions apply. Full T's and C's. Asda.com/rewards/terms.
When someone you love dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
You have no idea what hell awaits you.
And sometimes something so bad happens
Please don't do this!
that the soul cannot rest.
I'm gonna kill every single one of them.
The Crow in cinemas now. Certificate 18.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lookers Audi. Book a test drive for the fully electric range today. Head online for details. Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Second half's about to get underway. Let's go back to Hampden. I would assume no more changes for Rangers. Gabriel, they were forced into one just before the break, and a fairly satisfactory performance so far.
Yes, certainly, Gordon. Much improved from last week's lacklustre display here against St Johnstone. They created chances that day, but didn't really have any urgency going forwards. But they do have that Conor Barron back in at the base of midfield, making passes going forward. They've looked dangerous on the break as well. Fast attacks with Matondo and Václav Černý, both appearing to be up to full speed fitness-wise, giving them real options and pace out wide. Dessers, say what you want about him, scores goals, and he is in form. Scored again, 4 already this season. It took him till the end of October last season to get to that figure. And he did score an impressive number at the end of the campaign. In terms of substitutions, Liam Balogun was down after a head knock from a corner just before the interval, so he's come off. I assume it'll be a concussion substitute, so Rangers could still make 5 more changes if they need to. On came Mohamed Diomande, who'd been dropped to the bench, which means Dujon Sterling is playing centre half. Rangers' injury problems just don't seem to stop at the moment, Gordon, but in this second 45 they'll certainly have one eye on that big game at Parkhead in 8 days' time.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard is brought to you by NordVPN. Let's be honest, we all want to enjoy a more private and secure internet, especially Gordon DL, while having access to more content from around the world. With just one click, NordVPN can switch your virtual location to a country showing your favourite team whose game isn't being televised. Plus, you can protect all of your private data, like bank details, passwords, your online identity, giving you great peace of mind. One NordVPN account now covers 10 devices, and it costs about the price of one coffee per month. So to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Super Scoreboard. This link will give you 4 extra months on their 2-year plan. We've added a link to the podcast description as well. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Terms and conditions apply, and check streaming service terms before use. Honestly, you're in safe hands. Think of it like Alan McGregor, David Marshall and Craig Gordon. Safe hands indeed. Now, right, let's get back to the podcast.
Meet Sage Copilot, your new AI productivity assistant that automates tasks to keep your business running smoothly.
Copilot, help me pay my suppliers this week.
So, if you're a barber like Alfie, it could mean spending more time on what really matters, like more back and sides for his customers.
Oh, perfect. Cheers, Alfie.
Small businesses could save 4 days a month on financial admin. Search Sage Copilot to get early access today. Sage, helping business flow.
When someone you love dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
You have no idea what hell awaits you.
And sometimes something so bad happens
Please don't do that!
that the soul cannot rest.
I'm gonna kill every single one of them.
The Crow, in cinemas now. Certificate 18.
Looking to get car or van insurance double quick? To mustard.co.uk. With top insurance providers, a 5-minute pit stop with us could get you out in front in the race to savings. Car or van, work or play. Compare insurance with mustard.co.uk. T's and C's apply. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get advice on keeping infections and viruses away when school returns.
Let's get ready for the second halves to get underway. Gordon DL, is this all about really trying to press this home here now for Rangers, try and turn it into a really convincing afternoon?
Yeah, they've got the goals at the right time. They got a goal just 20 minutes into the half. They've got a goal right at half time, Gordon. They'll be desperate to get back out here. I'm expecting Rangers to knock in another few goals. They've dominated most of the half anyway. I think the Rangers manager will be saying to them, look, go out there and really put a performance on. So could be a long 45 plus for Ross County.
I guess there is only so much you can do, Hugh. A convincing win today doesn't guarantee anything against Celtic next week, obviously.
No.
But it just gives you that, even if it's a 1% uplift in confidence, momentum, whatever, all these buzzwords we use.
Yeah, it doesn't look as mundane and mediocre as it has done of late. They're 2-0. It should be at least double that. And I think it will be double that by full time. So they then go a point ahead of Celtic. They have to hope that Celtic are affected by the loss of Matt O'Reilly when they go to Paisley. They have to hope that St Mirren can get in about Celtic. Wouldn't Rangers just love to go to Celtic Park a point ahead of Celtic a week tomorrow? But that's up to Celtic at Paisley. But for this afternoon, they're 2 up, and I suspect they'll be 4 up by time up.
Nothing serious that we know of. It was a head knock for Leon Balogun, Mark, but when Rangers are a squad that's lacking in certain areas anyway, they really could do with getting a little rub of the green when it comes to injuries. Robin Propper, who was signed to replace Connor Goldson and be a mainstay in the team, he's out injured today. He is meant to be back for next week. Now Leon Balogun goes off, and there is no one else because Ben Davies isn't in the squad. He's about to, we think, go to Birmingham City on loan, so Dujon Sterling has to play at centre back because he plays everywhere.
Yeah, he's done not too bad there before. Am I right in saying he played at Celtic Park there before in the second half? Yeah, and he was okay. No, not ideal at all. Davies, I think you're better off without, because I don't think you're going to progress with him in your squad. He's just not there. Proper, well, the jury for me is still out on him. Needs to stay fit, needs to show better than what he's shown, I think. And Balogun, that is a blow. So again, I was saying they were short in the wide areas. Defensively, they are wide open at the minute, and that comes with chopping and changing. I guess your back line, no consistency. What they don't need is to be like that next week at Celtic Park. I think this game, the guys are right, this game probably done and dusted, but another couple of goals makes you feel a whole lot better going into that game.
I expect Rangers to add to their tally. You're just looking at centre back. Is King on the bench?
King's on the bench, yeah.
Yeah, and he decides to put Sterling back in there, bring on Diomande, so he can certainly play there, but I would expect Rangers to add to their tally this afternoon, Gordon. And you've got to go to places like Parkhead full of confidence with a few goals, and obviously put pressure on Celtic going to St Mirren tomorrow. I still fancy Celtic strongly, I've got to say. I know St Mirren will be difficult, but I think Celtic will get well enough in their locker.
Stenhouse Muir scoring the first goal in Scotland after the break. 2-1 up now against Cove Rangers. A quick turnaround in that one there. Nothing to tell you about from our featured matches yet, so a reminder of how the story goes at the moment. Rangers 2, Ross County 0, Hibs 1, Dundee 1, Dundee United 0, St Johnstone 0, Falkirk 0, Partick Thistle 0, and Ayr United 1, Raith Rovers 0.
Everything in the balance except at Hampden, where the balance of power has gone Rangers' way after Jack Butland had to make a good early save from Ross County. So much speculation about what will happen everywhere else except Hampden.
Yep, Bonnyrigg Rose have equalised against Clyde down in League 2 as well.
Clyde
Bradley
down to 10 men
with the goal there. So we'll keep an eye on any big stories developing in the other leagues. Whilst we've got the quiet start to the second half, Hugh, let's give maximum time on this, because thinking caps are needed.
Ooh. The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
We tried this one out in the newsroom earlier and it ended in a complete flop. Nobody could get it. So here's your test. I played alongside Florian Camberry and Tony Watt. I have been managed by Neil Warnock and Tony Pulis. I have made over 100 appearances for every club I have been at, and I was named Young Player of the Year for 2 of those clubs. I played alongside Florian Camberry and Tony Watt. I've been managed by Neil Warnock and Tony Pulis. I've made 100 appearances for every club I've been at, and I was named Young Player of the Year for 2 of those clubs. Who am I?
I've got this, I think.
Let me see. At Clyde SSB, if you could just hurry up and show me your paper, please. What does that say? Yeah, you're right, actually. He does have it. Spectacular.
Incredible.
But then I've kind of lost track, because last season you admitted that you were getting fed information.
Well, Hugh, tell you I didn't.
No,
I wasn't part
producers,
of it.
No,
I wasn't part of it. No.
That's astonishing, because we tried it out in the newsroom.
It's all about knowledge, mate. It's all about just a jigsaw, putting it all together.
Yeah, well done, Dazzler. Yeah, good on you. Right, anyway, Ross County made a change at the break. James Brown comes on for Jack Greaves. That writes itself. Good save from Walton in the Dundee United goal. Graham Carey had a shot from outside the box, tipped away. Livy have taken the lead against Morton Scott Pittman. That'll be a quiet touchline reunited. Dougie Imrie and Davy Martindale, of course, used to both be on the Livingston staff. Scott Pittman, though, a great servant to Livy over the years in various divisions, and he's opened the scoring in the Championship today.
Fair play to Davy Martindale. He's taken relegation on the chin. He brought in decent players, and he's clearly giving it a shot. Back up and a winner.
Yeah, I didn't detect them being many people's tip, Gordon, to come back up. But when you look at their squad they've assembled, I think it looks like a pretty good squad. You look at Stephen Kelly, would be surely on paper one of the better players in the Championship, and Scott Pittman's in there. But Tete Yengi was really good in the Premiership at times when he's still there playing today. Andrew Shinnie, fair enough, more on the experience side. Stevie May is in the team today as well. Again, I know he's not set the Premiership on fire recently, but Ryan McGowan with the experience, it just feels like they've got a pretty good Championship team.
If they can keep everybody fit, Gordon, it is going to be difficult, because the Championship, it's competitive. Everybody's talking about the start of Ayr United, talking about how Falkirk, with the cup shock against Hearts, the league form, the football they play. I think Livy's sort of went under the radar a little bit. I think it'll suit them, but they've certainly got a squad capable, if everybody stays fit, of obviously challenge for that title.
It was always going to be a bit to start in that Championship, because the squads, when you look down, a lot of them are all similar. Good signings made by a lot of clubs. I include Partick Thistle in that, Ayr United, and you're mentioning Livy. It's all about how you get off to a good start at that level, because confidence then breeds throughout you and you can carry it on. And equally, if you don't, then it is hard to try and inject it into your players. So good start for Ayr, decent start for Livy, and Falkirk obviously flying, especially after last week against Hearts.
The makings of a move down the right involving Cherney, but the pass in field doesn't find a Rangers body, and we've got one of these to tell you about. Where is it though?
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it is a goal for Dundee United. They've taken the lead against St Johnstone. It was a fairly even half by the sounds of it, listening to Dave Galloway, but the home side at Tannadice have taken the lead, and it is one of the youngsters, I think Stevenson, with the goal just after the break. He was booked in the first half, but he's opened the scoring, and that is more like it for Jim Goodwin's side.
Well, again, another young player, through at Tannadice. Jim not scared to play them, but always think, I know it's the obvious thing to say, but your home form when you come up is always going to be crucial. I don't think Dundee United's home form over recent years has been great. Even in the Championship there was some odd results in there, so if they can win a good handful of those before Christmas, then they're every chance.
Loan signing from Liverpool, that one, of course. Young player who's come in, Hugh, and it's like is that the Owen Beck route from Merseyside to Tayside? But anyway, Lucas Stevenson with the goal.
The debate this week has been about young players who are Scottish and the amount of game time they get within the Premiership, and it's not great. He's a young man, he's playing for Dundee United, but he's not Scottish. But this debate is going to go on, because look at Daniel Kelly yesterday leaving Celtic for Millwall. If players feel they're not getting enough game time, when Celtic or Rangers are at home against the like of Ross County, why wouldn't you take a risk on a Daniel Kelly or someone of that ilk? Because you are overwhelmingly favourites to beat them. Why not give them more game time?
I can see both sides of this argument. Obviously I'm in youth development just now, so it'd be great if there was a stipulation that, back to when I was playing, I think it was 3 homegrown players that were on the bench, and I understood that at Celtic, I think it used to irk Gordon Strachan at the time, that there was a feeling that these players probably didn't really deserve to be on the bench because they weren't performing great in training, but I had to do it. But I can see the argument of there's players blocking a pathway for our young talent. Yeah, of course, but I think Brendan Rodgers made a good point in it, especially at Celtic, that these players have to be patient. I think young players want so much so early, and I look at Daniel Kelly, who's, what age is he, 19 or something, 18. What's he expecting? Is he expecting 30 games over Rio Hatate, over Callum McGregor, Matt Riley when he was there, Bernardo? No, so sometimes you have to, just wait your time. But time will tell. If he goes down to Millwall and he plays every single week, and he goes on in the next few years to become full international, he's made the right decision. But if not, I wonder if he'll look at it and say, maybe I should have been patient.
Yeah, it is a mixed bag. I tend to go the other way. I tend to look at players that look at the situation, especially at Celtic and Rangers, clubs like that. If you don't feel you're going to get in that team, patience. I know what Mark's saying, we all had to be patient since we were kids, try to get into the first team. It's very hard to make that step up. But if you get offered probably a decent contract and probably more game time, I'm all for moving on.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Falkirk 1, Partick Thistle 0. Remember, the Jags were down to 10 men, and eventually the numerical advantage has seen Falkirk take the lead. It's a 25-yard rocket, top left-hand corner, a brilliant strike, and the Falkirk fans are happy with that one. 1-0 to the Bairns.
Well, we all went Thistle for promotion, but the start, they're beginning to lose ground already. If Falkirk were to turn that scoreline into a final result, they'd be 8 points ahead of Partick Thistle. Early on, I know, but
they couldn't get in the stadium now they're one out. That's going to be typical, isn't it? Down to 10 men, goal down. I don't see much way back. But about, is your team got character, Mark? You see them day in, day out.
Oh, loads of character.
Loads of character.
That's
not what you told me earlier, but
sweeping move from Rangers, sees the ball fall to Jeffy. He takes one big touch into the box, lashes it goalward, but he hits the side netting. Has looked a threat going forward, Gordon, in the games he's played. I think it's safe to say question marks still remain going the opposite direction, but he definitely looks like a threat when Rangers get up the pitch.
I've got to say, I think he's better with a full back behind him. I think
he is a full back though, so
I know,
that's a slight issue.
No, but I think he is better if there's a left back there and let him go and play, because I think going forward
so he's a left winger.
For me, he's a left midfield player, Mark. Listen, he can slot in at left back, but I don't think he's the greatest defender in the world. And the argument's
he is a left back though. I know that. You've just said he can slot in at left back.
But you can have players and you can maybe change a position for them. They come to the club, they're a left back, they don't fit into what you're doing, they go one forward and all of a sudden they make that position their own. I just think, looking at him at left back and one forward, if it was me personally playing him, I would always play a left back behind him.
Well, he needs to be a left back because Yilmaz is still injured. He's the one that's not coming back yet. He's a couple of weeks away, so it should be Jeffy at left back at Celtic Park next week, you would imagine. Martin Boyle has got his shooting boots on today. He's tried another from 20 yards. Not a terrible effort, but over the bar. And remember, his free kick against the run of play was what levelled things up.
We were talking earlier about Matt O'Reilly. Would he be bedded in?
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Every week, Gordon DL, you're going to get more and more excited about this. Cyril Dessers is climbing to the top of the goal scoring charts. It's 3-0. Matondo goes down the outside, beats his man, fires it across, tap in for Dessers. 3-0 Rangers.
He's what you call, he is on fire. Let's be honest, he will beat 22 goals if he stays fit. I think he's getting better and better. He's taking that little bit of criticism. I think he's turned it into being positive. He's a threat round about the goals. He's starting to get confidence with that as well. Listen, he is top man just now.
How many Rangers fans are going to have to backpedal on what they said about Dessers? On this programme, he has been called everything, and now there's no doubt that he looks a far better, more confident, more deadly player than at any other time at Rangers.
I think he's improving his movement.
Backpedaling coming up.
But he's always scored though. It was never about the numbers last season. No, it was never about his inability to score goals.
Yeah, but I think obviously he get criticised for his link-up play at times. But for me, I think his movement in the box has improved immensely. That's why I think if you give him the service in there, he's a threat. He'll get you goals, and he's starting to show that. He's grown, as I say, into that number 9 jersey.
I'm looking, what was it, 10 days ago? Rangers played Dynamo Kiev.
Yeah.
Dessers, is remonstrating with the Rangers fans who are giving him dogs abuse, and he's giving them dogs abuse back. And here we are 10 days later, and tonight 5 o'clock the backpedaling will begin.
He's got a bit of character about him,
Yeah,
as well.
like
you know, so that incident showed that he's got a bit of character. He backs himself. Even his post-match and pre-match interviews, sometimes he's not scared to back himself in that. But the biggest kind of judgment of him is on the pitch, and you look at, you know, what he produces in terms of goals, and it's a good return.
Well, he's got to 4 goals for the season 2 months earlier than he did last season. It took him until the 21st of October to get his 4th of last campaign. He's up at 4 already, Gordon.
Yeah, he's got off to a terrific start. You could probably argue a little bit unlucky not to get a goal in the opening game against Hearts at Tynecastle, but he's looked sharp for me. And I don't mind that. If the Rangers fans are giving you a hard time, I think you're quite entitled to, you know, express your thoughts to him. What's the problem? As long as you can back it up. And he's certainly doing that. It's all about the service. They've got to get the service to him. They get service to him. You've seen it, and he scored 2 today. He will get you goals, no doubt about it. Is his link-up play as good as most others? Probably not. But I think when you play as a number 9 with Rangers and Celtic, your numbers are all about goals.
A damage limitation job for Ross County now, Hugh.
Oh yeah. I mean, the game's over and done with, and now we're in, and I'm not sure they can limit the damage. I think it's got the look of a 4-5 about it. I'm just waiting for the first fan to come on here and say, I personally, I never shouted at him, you know. Yeah. Dessers is giving the fans a real problem now because he looks a player.
I think, to be fair, he's always been a bit of a split on here. We get loads who call in and defend him.
I've always liked him.
So
Anna, Mark,
no.
I've always liked Dessers. I've always sang his praises.
The acid test, of course, is Celtic Park a week tomorrow. He's got 1 goal against Celtic since he got here. It was always held against Morelos that he didn't score enough against Celtic, and he struggled in that department. But the acid test for Dessers will be, well, okay then, can you do it Celtic Park in front of 60,000 Celtic fans?
Needs a whole load of other teammates to pitch in
he scored in the fixture last season.
He's not like, you know, R9 who can get the ball and run through the defence. He needs to be supplied by his wide players, like you see Matondo down there. So it needs a lot of players to step up at Celtic Park, not just him. He's actually dragged the team through this period that's been sticky at the start of the season, and no doubt that this afternoon looks like the best Rangers have played, and it'll do their confidence.
This is where he'll be angry. He'll probably begin subbed soon.
But it's the right time to sub him.
Perfect time to give Danilo minutes. All this debate about Danilo this season.
I would be raging if I was on 2.
It's not about hat tricks anymore.
That's outdated. Do you think this is still the 90s?
Seriously?
Players come off all the time
Match
on 2 goals now.
Celtic
you don't even get the ball anymore.
Celtic took Maeda off last week.
Yeah, players
scored
come
2
off.
goals.
Nonsense.
They come off on 2 all the time.
Do you know, here's my Michael Caine, not a lot of people know that. Last season there was not 1 hat-trick in Scottish football.
Seriously?
Not one the entire season.
For the first time pretty much ever. Not, I think just the top flight.
Yeah.
Mate, I must have scored about 50.
It's a team game. You know, there's 5 subs now. You know, the centre forward does get withdrawn.
Ball under arm.
Because it'd be completely counterproductive today to not give Danilo game time.
Well, exactly.
You shot yourself in the foot big time.
Yeah.
Getting a bit heated at Easter Road. I think Colin Stevens a bit card happy. Jordan McGee booked. Dundee manager Tony Docherty booked. Larkesh was booked for Dundee for taking out Lewis Miller. Other than that,
quiet game.
Day. Yeah.
Wee bit discipline. That's what you're looking for. I did through my career.
You did?
Yeah.
You ever sent off?
I was sent off once.
What for?
Angry exchange with a St Johnstone player. I thought I was hard done to. I got my marching orders. Never
old fisticuffs, was it?
It was a sort of a elbow. It was a wee cheeky one. I wasn't proud of myself that night. I still went out right enough, but I wasn't.
Who was the St Johnstone player?
Left back McVicker, Don McVicker. you remember him?
Yeah.
He was quite a hardy defender, but he come up against his match that day. Let me tell you. I'm sure he did. A sneaky elbow and then a ref give us a red, because he was going to do me later.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
This is exactly what Rangers were looking for today. It's 4, and it's another man that could be doing with a goal. It was Tom Lawrence. He set up one earlier in the game. This one's another good break. It's a tidy finish in off the post. Rangers are cruising.
Yeah, and Ross County are struggling, and psychologically very important. Philippe Clement has been extremely honest. Can't get players in this transfer window unless others go out. So you may be looking at the players who will have to line up against Celtic a week tomorrow, because Rangers may not be in a position where they can sign anybody. So if that is the case, better that they score 4 goals, and they're not done yet because they've got half an hour to go. This could be a 5 or 6.
This is not to take anything away from Rangers, who look clinical, Mark. I get that Ross County are trailing in the game, but Rangers are scoring from counter-attacks. You don't often see that, because teams tend to sort of know their limits, sit back and make things difficult. Rangers are breaking on Ross County to score.
Yeah, well, it's like they've not got the message that this is just a walk in the park for Rangers, because they're promoting bodies forward. But look, fair play to Rangers. By far the best they've played this season. You know, good quick football, willing runners, bodies getting in the box, and then they've got the quality to match it with the passes. Some of the little passes that they've had, and it's another good finish. So Philippe Clement will be delighted, and they're not done yet. An awful long time to go in this game.
Oh, I know.
Rabbi Matondo, Gordon, has set up the last 2. He's got one of his own. He's having a real positive contribution.
I think the manager's had a chant in his ear and said, look, DL in that Super Scoreboard studio gave you a little bit of
Thinks you earn too much money every
week.
Yeah,
you're an impact player, but he's certainly been excellent today, I've got to say that, and well done to him.
I think if you're Ross County, I'd need to hear a bit more about it. But I mean, it sounds like there was a pass from Rangers' own box, if you like, right up to the halfway line, but along the ground, right through the middle of the pitch, with nobody able to get in the way of it.
Is it because where they are, they didn't come in for a lot of stick after the Spartans game, did they? I didn't read a lot of people giving them.
Well, I think we said on here, I certainly said on here, I know the Hearts result takes the headlines because they're Hearts, but that was an absolute shocker.
I think in journalistic terms, you hit the nail on the head there, Gordon. They're too far away. Nobody cares about them.
Well, here, because we focus on the Glasgow and the West Goldfish Bowl, I guess. But I suppose sometimes these things are about how you react, because I was thinking about this. I was scarred for a long time by Motherwell losing to Albion Rovers in the Scottish Cup, and it was the same gap. Motherwell finished second that season. The cup shocks do happen. It doesn't always have to be representative of everything that's going on, but you obviously need to react to it and see if you can bounce back. Obviously it was going to be tough anyway for Ross County to do that today.
We're going to safely say that they're not going to finish second.
I don't think so. I can't see it.
No, I'll tell you what, I'm be interested to see what the celebration is today if they get another few goals.
Well, they're bound to go and do it again. They have to.
Oh yeah, maybe it's a lucky charm.
Kieran Dowell and Danilo came on. Cyril Dessers, as we predicted, going off, getting a rest. He will almost certainly lead the line against Celtic next weekend.
For Philippe Clement, it's about building a rapport. Players.
Rare chance for Ross County. Ronan Hale with a good header. Well, a powerful header, but it goes wide.
Players and spectators. So, you know, he doesn't have a fan inside Celtic Park a week tomorrow. Not one. But he'll go to those fans today again because he has to. He did it last week, and you had a very mediocre win over St Johnstone in the Cup. This has been entertaining, goals. The fans have enjoyed what they've been watching, so he's got to go and do it again.
We'll just see, because I think he said last week, you know, it was planned. It was off the back of a lot of negativity. I don't think it's guaranteed they do it every week, but we will see. Let's check in on your teaser, please, Hugh.
Okay. The Who Am I? I played alongside Florian Camberry and Tony Watt. I have been managed by Neil Warnock and Tony Pulis. I have made over 100 appearances for every club I have been at, and I was named Young Player of the Year for 2 of those clubs. Who am I?
Lots of people, including Jamie McCarry and Luke McIntosh and Craig Meikle, all going for Stephen Fletcher.
No.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Surely a man of the match award coming or thereabouts for Rabi Matondo. He's set up 2, he's now scored 2. It was Cherney who fired the ball across, Matondo with the volleyed finish, and we are on for a cricket score here at Hampden. Still over 20 minutes to go. Rangers lead 5-0.
Well, they're in the market for a cricket score, and clearly Ross County are like a boxer against the ropes, unable to defend themselves properly, and they're getting hammered, and they will continue to get hammered. And I said it could be a 5 or a 6, maybe a 6 or 7 now.
Yeah, they're still
Might
playing
take that at this time.
And there's nothing worse standing at Hampden looking up that clock thinking, oh, there's still plenty of time.
Yeah.
You've been there, Mark.
I've been there. But there was me criticising Rangers white players. You know, at the start, well, Cherney I said was a good player. Matondo, maybe a lot to do. He needs a performance like this to take him into that game next week. And they've got a real threat. You get Matondo playing like he is today, there's no doubt about it. You've got a player.
They also look like, though, because he scored a couple that were similar, Gordon, it looks like they're getting into much better areas. I always feel like what really lacked from Rangers for years now is when one winger's got it, the other one's not in the box. They just don't do what Celtic do, where the other one arrives at the back post. But we're really seeing that a lot today.
They're getting runners in the box. They're getting, you say, Gordon, if it's down the right hand side, the left hand side winger is getting in, he's a threat. And obviously it's working, because Matondo scored 2 today, looked a real threat as well. It's been a very, very comfortable afternoon for Rangers.
I think I know Tavernier sets up Matondo's first goal, but I think Tavernier's playing a wee bit deeper with Cherney ahead of him. He's allowing Cherney to go and be that outlet, and allowing him to go 1v1
and just backing it up.
So they're actually mixing up, because you're right, Gordon, for years it was just relied on Tavernier. You work it out to him and he flips in the box.
Yeah, much better in pretty much every single department from Rangers today. They are 5-0 up on Ross County and about 20 minutes to go. So we've got a goal at Easter Road. This could be a huge one.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it is for Hibs. We said they equalised against the run of play in the first half, but Kieran Bowie, the Scotland under-21 international, one of their recent recruits, he has put them in front. A mazy run into the box from the wing, a low finish, much more like it for Hibs.
Sunshine on Leith, and then some, because they could not have been doing with a defeat at home today. They're not out of the woods yet, but that surely is a confidence booster with 20 minutes to go.
I'm in fire.
Yeah,
I named it last week with Falkirk. I told you Hibs would get their first 3 points today, and that's going to happen. And
what about the Super Jays up at Tannadice?
I'm not on fire with them. I'm sort of my fires went out with Super Jays.
Yeah. But I think Hibs fans had high hopes for him. A bit of excitement around him coming. So good that he's got off the mark.
Hit the bar when he came on in the Celtic game, didn't he, at Easter Road, and looked lively. But he's found the back of the net today. And look, over the years Hibs have had some impressive attacking players, and it felt like that had gone recently. It was hard to rely only on Martin Boyle. Spent a lot of money on Dylan Vente. He's been shipped out on loan. Just too many that weren't really contributing. And if they can get a real tune out of Kieran Bowie, it could make a big difference. So there's an interesting goal to tell you about.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
The 10 men of Partick Thistle are level. Falkirk 1, Thistle 1. Terry Abladi with the goal.
Character.
I don't think we saw that coming.
He asked me, what's the character like? I said, good character.
Yeah.
And they're back in it.
And they'll finish right on time, because they don't have far. So what a point that would be. The fans are trying to get back in.
It's been a tough afternoon for them. I mean, I'm sure you've been there as well, and you get into 10 men early in the game and backs against the wall. You've got no outlet, especially against a Falkirk team who are so good going forward. So tough afternoon. That's right, they get out with a point.
I was fascinated by a scoreline I kept seeing from the Lowland League there, where East Kilbride are down at Gallaferidean.
Oh, by about 10.
No Gallaferidean were 3-2 up, and East Kilbride are down to 9 men. And then East Kilbride equalised.
With 9 men?
9 men. And now Gallaferidean have gone and scored again.
That's a signal.
That's entertainment.
See, when I'm down to 10 men, do you know I always play 2 up top? Always.
Do you?
I always. People go 4-4-1. I was
even now.
I was an attacking manager. 2 up top, put pressure on.
A gambler.
Never won the game, but
it never worked.
Never
gave a go.
But I stuck at it.
By the way, that was all about the post-match interview, saying, you know what, I was brave and we went for it.
Like Ange
last
season.
I'm not a negative manager, as you've seen. I was the only guy that went to Hampden, played 2 wingers against Rangers and lost 7. But I tell you what, we were good in the wide areas that day.
Dundee are trying to get themselves level. They were in front, remember, at Easter Road. They now trail. Curtis Main on for Seb Palmer-Holden, and Ingram comes on for Tiffany as well. Double change now for Rangers. They've had a good day. Matondo's had a brilliant day, 2 goals, 2 assists. He's gone off. Cherney goes with him, and on come McCausland and Fraser. So a couple of the youngsters getting some minutes here, although obviously Ross McCausland plays much more often than Robbie Fraser does. He looks to be playing on the right wing.
The point I was going to make earlier on, I mentioned O'Reilly and the question of whether he would be bedded in by Brighton or not. By the time this Old Firm game comes around a week tomorrow, how many new players will be at Celtic and Rangers, and how many of them will be thrust into that particular fixture straight away?
Tough to see many play for Celtic, really, isn't it? I mean, I know they've lost O'Reilly, but
Bernardo will come in there.
A pretty settled team, and Rangers will only sign people really if players leave.
Yeah,
so.
I would imagine that, look, I totally agree with you, Hugh, because it's hard to argue the fact that Celtic should have their business done a little bit quicker, but I think they will have new players in. But Bernardo will just get in there for a straight swap for O'Reilly, and it'll be probably
I'm thinking though of Celtic signing a defender to play beside Carter Vickers, for example.
Yeah, they're not going to drop Scales.
Brendan Rodgers likes Liam Scales, doesn't he? Maybe in the fullness of time, but it would be quite something if he just brought a guy in on Wednesday, binned Liam Scales off, and
their form's good. Depends what happens tomorrow. You've got to imagine in Paisley, if they get another good performance and a few goals, then it's very hard to leave people out your team.
4-goal thriller. Dumbarton 2, Arbroath 2. Matthew Shields with the goal. Ange Ball is 4-0 up against Everton.
Toffees, they've gone
7-0 on aggregate. They are now 3-0 Brighton last weekend, now 4 at Tottenham.
Big deep voices in trouble.
Reminders of the teaser, please, Hugh.
Okay, I have played alongside Florian Camberry and Tony Watt. I have been managed by Neil Warnock and Tony Pulis. I have made over 100 appearances for every club I have been at, and I was named Young Player of the Year for 2 of those clubs. Who am I?
David thinks it might be Charlie Adam. No. Okay, keep your guesses coming. We'll give you about 10 more minutes maybe, and then we'll announce who the winner is on the second half teaser. Elgin have scored at Stranraer. What a journey that is.
Elgin,
a lot happier if you win. Elgin down in Stranraer. That's the biggest within the SPFL, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm sure we've
can't
asked this.
You can't be fit for that game, can you?
It's good if you win the way back up the road.
I'm sure we've asked this question before.
Oh, right. It's Elgin at Stranraer. Right, okay.
275 miles.
That's it.
5.5 hours each way.
Go on then, tell me, how far is it from Brighton to Mallaig?
Okay, because
I've got 2 grandchildren in Brighton and 2 in Mallaig, and I reckon it must be close to 1,000 miles.
1,000?
Oh, 600.
600 miles. 1,000 miles you'd get to the south of France.
The island is not that big. 608 miles apparently. So there you go.
We're just coming for a man that does not drive right there. Thousands of miles.
But listen, he's one of life's exaggerators when it comes to most things, so it's only fitting he should do it with miles as well.
4 grandchildren 600 miles apart.
What direction do you like best
to
go and visit?
They're so vastly different. One's a beautiful wee place near the Isle of Skye, and the other one's...
Well, they're not listening.
But you must have favourites at the grandkids. Who are the good ones and who are the bad ones?
Brighton, getting about the pubs and the restaurants.
I like that, Hugh. That's how I don't have 2.
Anyway, Rangers 5, Ross County 0, 78 gone. It's been a real convincing clinical display from Rangers. We don't always say that on a Saturday afternoon, but Rangers fans, one of those days where you can come on and focus pretty much on the positives. It's hard to see much of a downside here. Lots of good performances, 5 goals and maybe more, a clean sheet as things stand. So give us a call in about 20 minutes time or so. Give us a call and let us know how you're feeling this evening.
That's important as well, Gordon. You're talking there. As much as it's comfortable, they want that clean sheet, don't they?
Got one last week, to be fair, in the cup.
Yeah, you want to keep that. You want to continue that. Be hard to break down, hard to score against, and then just let the forward players go and do their own thing and get you goals and get you obviously a good 3 points this afternoon.
I'll tell you, it makes the Old Firm game a bit livelier than it looked.
Because they beat Ross County 5-0.
I mean, they look.
And Matt O'Reilly's probably missing from Celtic team.
I'm not saying Matt O'Reilly means the end of the universe. I'm just saying that the game looks livelier now than it did last weekend. Rangers have played well today. Matondo's played well. Dessers has got more goals, etc., etc.
Well, on a very basic level, unless Celtic do something spectacular during the week and throw him in, even if it's 2%, you would say the gap closes slightly with the absence of Matt O'Reilly. I don't think that's not a hugely controversial statement.
No, and as Gordon said, you have to see how Celtic do tomorrow. If Celtic,
no, but even if Celtic do win and are convincing tomorrow, we all thought Matt O'Reilly would play next week. Now he probably won't, Mark Wilson. So
yeah, well, Celtic obviously are weaker. There's no doubt about it. Let's just sign someone extraordinary through the week.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Falkirk 2, Partick Thistle 1. Brad Spencer with the goal. We said Thistle had done ever so well to get back on level terms with the 10 men, but Falkirk back in front. Just about 7 minutes to go. Spencer with the goal, a 16-yard volley. It was a low driven cross, and there he was to provide the finish.
Who's his famous dad, Mark?
It's got to be John. Well, other Spencer I know.
John Spencer's boy,
Frank
Spencer.
Is it really John Spencer's boy?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Did you
he's your mate, is he not? Your cycling mate.
Yeah, I've not seen him for ages. I think he's back down in London.
Doesn't cycle anymore. Not noticed that. This is a thing of the past.
Yeah, he said
since golf took over, he's ditched the cycling.
I'm ready to ditch a golf.
Have you still got your bike?
Yeah.
Because
I've not got the one. I've not got the one tyre bike you gave me. Remember that one?
That was a belter.
My goodness!
I think it's been years since you took to the saddle.
I've not been on the saddle for probably 2 years. I would probably say.
I'd say more, honestly.
Do you think more?
Yeah, I think you're slacking.
Golf just took over my life. I fell in love with golf. That's the only thing that's never left me. And just now I was excited to see Craig walking through that door. I've never been so excited.
I was like giving you your new golf ball
earlier
on.
Christmas.
It was embarrassing over. And you know what,
I gave him a cuddle and everything.
Well, you did, but you sort of did it quickly. You were more interested in the bag, the goodies.
Yeah, it was like my 3-year-old on Christmas morning, where she just doesn't really stop to say thanks, just tries to rip open the rest.
What have we got?
I certainly, it was a bit selfish of me, I've got to admit.
You better apologise to him.
Red card, Adama Sidibe of St Johnstone. He's been a real threat in a sort of goal scoring sense this season, not in a disciplinary sense, but he's off a second yellow card for a tackle, and that gives Craig Levein an issue, because he'll have to see out this or the end of this game, and of course won't be available going forward.
Well, that would be a brilliant one for Jim Goodwin. It should make it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, harder for St Johnstone to come back now, isn't it?
Yeah, in the
two up top, mate.
Well, we all looked at St Johnstone winning comfortably at Kilmarnock and thought, maybe we're quick to write them off, but it's gone the other way now.
Some good games tomorrow, I've got to say. I'm actually going to go to Fir Park tomorrow, Gordon, for once.
Don't believe you.
100%. Is it 2 or 3 kick-off?
3.
That's perfect for me. Got my day sorted.
Are you going to go along, are you, for the Jambos?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I think that'll be a good game. I want
the
to get
Andy
out there.
Halliday derby.
Got to put my Motherwell number 9 strip on.
Yeah, there are good games. Obviously we will and have focused on Celtic heading to St Mirren. You've mentioned that one as well.
Kilmarnock Aberdeen off
the Derek McInnes derby, since we're on the theme. Have you seen Aberdeen closing in apparently on Kevin Nisbet?
Good signing that'd be, wouldn't it? That'd be a very
if it's the Kevin Nisbet that left, here it is. If it's the one that struggled to score for Millwall, maybe not.
Yeah, but maybe Millwall don't play the style of football, and I think Aberdeen just now quite a good club to join. They're on a high. They've got good money in, and they've got the new manager. They seem to like him up there. They've got off to a good start. I think that could be a match made in heaven.
The man's undefeated. You can't say fairer than that. League and Premier Sports Cup. So do not fancy Kilmarnock's chances at all tomorrow at Pittodrie.
Roger Hannah's asking if it's Lennon Miller's birthday party you're going to. Did you see he turned 18 tomorrow, I think it is?
Was he only 18?
18.
My, what was I doing when I was 18?
Don't tell us. Don't tell us.
In the streets of Motherwell.
Motherwell, yeah.
Dessers has been announced as man of the match. Wouldn't grudge him too much. I think Rabbi Matondo maybe a bit hard done by, 2 goals and 2 assists, but Dessers has been good as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think you could have given it to either or. There'd be no arguments. 2 of them get a brace. They'd be delighted with that. 5 goals so far. Are there time for one more, Hugh?
Oh, I thought so.
Always used to fascinate me that when you heard the stadium man of the match when you were playing, because it was the sponsors or the hospitality, you know, people that sometimes awarded it, and sometimes you're on the pitch thinking, how did they get man of the match?
Dessers come on last week at half time, get man of the match.
But sometimes the sponsors just fix it because they'd rather see player than that one.
Yeah, it was always a forward player at Celtic, and you think, I didn't even touch the ball.
Well, so you thought it should have been you.
Well, I'd done probably about 75 overlaps by that point.
At Starts Park, I used to get in before a game and just do my presentation.
Give me the champagne.
I'll stick that in the fridge.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
It's taken a while, but it looks like Ayr United have wrapped it up. Remember, Wraith have been down to 10 men for quite some time. Ethan Walker, the corner was cleared by Dowds, and Ayr went from one end to the other. So Walker, he's a sub, he's on loan from Blackburn, and he has scored this afternoon. So 2-0 to Ayr United in one of our featured Championship matches. Hugh Keevins, let's round off your teaser if we can.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Hold on, one of these first.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
We did say it was going to be a long way back for St Johnstone. It got longer. Dundee United have scored. It's a Jack Sanders own goal, we think. Looks like he got the final touch. St Johnstone down to 10 men, and St Johnstone have Dundee United have rubbed their noses in it. 2-0 to St Johnstone. Where were we, Hugh? Let's do it.
I played alongside Florian Camberry and Tony Watt. I have been managed by Neil Warnock and Tony Pulis. I have made over 100 appearances for every club I have been at, and I was named Young Player of the Year for 2 of those clubs. I am Callum Patterson.
Callum Patterson, you got it straight away, Gordon DL.
How'd you get that?
Well, I've always had him in the back of my mind because I always said that his Hearts playing days he was never a right back, and I was
what has that got to do with anything?
Nothing really. I knew that obviously Sheffield United, Cardiff, Hearts,
right,
and I knew that he'd won 2 Young Player of the Year.
Right, Liar. A crab with pincers was second place, and Sean Ross 1967 was the winner. I don't even think we got a third, so there we go. Well done to those 2. Late drama.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it's Simon Murray. Scored a bucket load for Ross County last season. Hasn't quite been finding the net as regularly at the start of his Dundee return, but he goes back to Easter Road, one of his other former clubs, and he's equalised late on. What a game David Friel has been treated to. He was played in down the right hand side, a low finish, and it is Hibs 2, Dundee 2. What a game.
Might be a draw, but it's a sense of loss for David Gray and Hibs because they look to have overcome a bad start to the game and gone 2-1 in front, but there'll be a sense of loss about that belated goal. However, the feel-good factor goes on for Tony Docherty in Dundee.
Full-time whistles starting to go. Somerset Park for Roger Hannah first up.
Yeah, and Scott Brown's Ayr are still 3 points clear at the top of the Championship table tonight. Ayr United 2, Wraith Rovers 0. A deserved win. They bossed the game almost from start to finish. Marco Roos fired a shot that was blocked in 19 minutes. Jamie Murphy then hit the outside of the post in 25, but the opening goal delayed only until 39 minutes from the penalty spot. A handball by Sean Byrne. The move started a dreadful clearance, a kick out by the goalkeeper Kevin Dabrowski. Ayr pinched the ball and moved into the box, and as Jay Henderson was about to pull the trigger, Butler, who was lying on the ground, got his hand to the ball to block it. Referee Ian Snedden immediately pointed to the penalty spot. He sent off Burn. Anton Dowds sent Dabrowski the wrong way from the penalty. His 4th league goal in 4 championship games this season. He almost had a 5th in the stroke at half-time. 17-year-old Dylan Watwood making his first league start for Ayr. Hit cross into the box, missed by George Oakley. There was Downs, but his shot was blocked. The 10-man Wraith just couldn't get a foothold in the second half at all. Ayr dominated. Michael Roos shot high over the top. Dabrowski then a terrific double save from Paddy Redding's shot and Dowds' header. Then Ayr skipper Ben Dempsey drilled a shot wide of the post, but the second goal did come just as the game went into stoppage time. Wraith a brief flurry up the park. It was a long throw into the box. Dowds was back to head clear. Ayr then burst from one end to the other, and substitute Ethan Walker on loan from Blackburn Rovers finished for his first goal for Ayr United. 4 games, 4 wins. The Scott Brown Revolution's gathering momentum in Ayrshire. Ayr United 2, Raith Rovers 0.
And we've got another one of these at Ibrox.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Hampden, obviously, was what I meant, and it is 6, and it's Danilo. We did say there was sense in bringing Dessers off and Danilo on. Not only has he got minutes, he's got a goal, the striker popping up at the end to make it 6 for Rangers. This is an absolute doing, Hugh Keevins.
Yes, and a psychological lift for all concerned. Philippe Clement in a dark mood yesterday, talking about not being able to sign players unless others go. Well, the ones who have remained have done the business for him today.
Absolutely. Full-time Falkirk, Fraser Wishart.
Falkirk 2, Partick Thistle 1. The Falkirk bandwagon keeps on rolling, but they're made to work hard by a Partick Thistle side who are down to 10 men. After 25 minutes, when Ben Stanley picked up his second yellow card. Second half goals from Henderson and from Spencer either side of a Terry Abladi equaliser won the game for the Bairns. Falkirk the best chances in the first half. Ethan Ross just wide from 18 yards. Miles Roberts, the Thistle goal, denied Miller a couple of times. And Donaldson with really good saves before Sean Mackey hit the bar from 25 yards. Thistle's best chance, Rico Dyack shot, saved by Hogarth. But the real blow came in the 25th minute when Ben Stanway picked up his second yellow card of the game for simulation. So therefore no surprise it was Falkirk who dominated the game in the second half. The opening goal came 57 minutes. Big Liam Henderson, the centre half, had the ball and just inside the Partick Thistle half. Nobody came to challenge him. He just strode forward and thought, I might as well have a go, and he did. 25-yard rocket into the top left hand corner. It was a brilliant strike by the centre back. Gary Oliver should have scored a second. 2 minutes later he blazed 16-yard shot over. Then Oliver and Brad Spencer looked at the sky and they put decent chances over the bar. On the other end, Nicky Hogarth, a virtual spectator, team in total control. But at this point they're only 1 up and they were wary of a Partick Thistle counter-attack. As we passed 75 minutes, the first sight of goal for Partick Thistle was sub Terry Abladi testing Hogarth with a low 25-yard shot before the equaliser came a minute later. Aidan Fitzpatrick, really good break in the left-hand side. He fed Kyle Turner, lovely pass to Abladi inside the box, showed great strength to hold off Henderson, and toe poke a low finish past Hogarth. The Falkirk response though just shows the confidence in this team. It was immediate. Miles Roberts, 2 brilliant saves in 30 seconds to deny Aguiman and Donaldson. The keeper was terrific throughout with a number of great saves, but then the winning goal came in 83 minutes. Impressive young right back Keelan Adams made his way to the byline. He cut the ball back low and hard, and a brilliant 16-yard volley high into the net by Brad Spencer to give Falkirk a thoroughly deserved win. In front of 6,500 fans, did so many chances, but I think Chris Doolan and the 1,144 Thistle fans will be disappointed. They couldn't hang on with those 10 men after they equalised for that last 15 minutes or so. Full time here, Falkirk 2, Partick Thistle 1.
Big win for the Bairns, and on they go. What a start to the season it has been. 6-0 Rangers. Remember, no full-time whistle quite yet. It is full-time Tannadice, so we'll give you the picture from Dave Galloway as soon as we can. Let's see if we get any other full-time whistles in the meantime. Still playing at Easter Road. Imagine there was an even later no, there we go, it's a full-time whistle. Sorry, I thought we had another goal. Full-time at Hampden, Gabriel.
Rangers 6, Ross County 0. Here Gordon, 2 for Cyril Dessers, 2 for Ravi Matondo, 1 for Tom Lawrence and another for Danilo. Philippe Clement's side firing on all cylinders and at their clinical best today, looking good heading into next weekend's Old Firm. In the 18th minute it was Dessers who put the hosts in front. Great work from Tom Lawrence, took the ball so well on the turn, beat his man with a shimmy, slipped the ball through. Nigerian took his time but tucked it away expertly. And Matondo got his first just before the interval, a good ball in from the right, and the winner got in front of his man to turn the ball in from close range. After the break it was more of the same, the Gers in total control. For the third goal, Matondo beat his man on the outside this time on the left. cut it across to Dessers, who couldn't miss, and it was a tap-in. A few minutes later, Tom Lawrence chipped in his strike. It finished off a great counter-attack. Dessers held the ball up, rolled it wide to Matondo, who drove in, slid in Lawrence, finished in off the post. And it was time then for Matondo, the outstanding performer today, it must be said, to get his second and the team's fourth. A volley from the centre of the goal after good work from Václav Černý on the right. Getting into that central position again, Matondo. 2 goals and 2 assists for him today. Applauded off with 10 minutes to go. On came Danilo, and it was him who got in on the act finally, coming off the bench to make it 6. The Staggies forced Jack Butland into a couple of first half saves, but that was it. They offered little going forward, but perhaps more concerningly, they looked so open and weak at the back, Gordon. They've got to get a lot better, or they'll be in serious trouble again this campaign. But it is all about Rangers today. Their best performance of the season for sure, probably their best performance in the last 6 months, and it brings belief back ahead of the huge derby at Celtic Park next week. Full time at the National Stadium. It's Rangers 6, Ross County 0.
And Rangers fans, you can get in touch right now and let us know what you made of that. You must be happy, I would imagine. 0141 951 1025. Sum it up for us. Is that the best performance in how long? You fill in the blanks there. Rangers' best performance in how long? What pleased you most? Dessers got a couple, Matondo got a couple, there was a clean sheet. What really stood out for you today? Give us a call right now. How does it set you up for a certain trip to the East End of Glasgow next weekend? It's full time at Easter Road. First though, here's David Friel.
Yeah, full time, Gordon. Hibs 2, Dundee 2. There was loud jeers at the end from the Hibs fans, but I think everybody should be cheering both sets of players for producing a terrific advert for the Scottish game. 4 goals, 9 bookings, great goals and amazing drama. Simon Murray with a late leveller, 88 minutes on the clock, scoring against his old club in front of Dundee fans. Some Dundee fans on the pitch celebrating that goal, and no wonder. A heroic effort from Tony Docherty's men to salvage a point. They had been ahead in the game, but for David Gray it's just more misery. It started badly for Hibs. Jordan Abita's mistake allowed Lyle Cameron to play on Scott Tiffany. Dundee went ahead. Dundee had other chances. Lyle Cameron had a goal ruled out for offside. Hibs huffed and puffed, but they did get back into the game just before half time. Martin Boyle, what a free kick, 44 minutes on the clock, bent it into the top corner. Hibs threw everything at Dundee in the second half. Dundee also had their chances as well, but we thought Hibs had won it when Kieran Bowie off the bench produced a great finish. He took a throw in from the right, rolled into the box, slammed his shot past John McGracken. It looked as if Hibs would hold on, but in the 88 minutes, Warner Horror, he just fell asleep. Simon Murray in the blind side, and he rolled his shot under Joseph Busick to give Dundee the equaliser. Josh Campbell amazingly hit the bar seconds later for Hibs, but Dundee also had chances, and in the end they could have won it as well. Amazing drama, amazing excitement. It finishes here, Hibs 2, Dundee 2.
Oh, what a game. What a game for David Freeland. It is that time where it's over to you on 0141 951 1025. It's finished at Tannadice. Dundee United beating St Johnstone by 2-0, but we want to hear you and your thoughts and your opinions on today's football, tomorrow's football, the transfer market, anything else at all. Now is the time to call. Starting at Hampden, Rangers fans, how long has it been since you saw a performance like that from Rangers? What pleased you the most? How does it set you up for next weekend? 0141 951 1025. Celtic fans, you can look ahead on the pitch tomorrow to a trip to St Mirren, but really everything's against the backdrop of Matt O'Reilly. He was on a plane this morning. It looks like he'll leave for a club record fee. So again, all your thoughts there please on 0141 951 1025, because last night when we were on, we didn't know anything about this came about a bit later in the evening. So get all your calls into us right now if you can, and we will speak to you next.
After the action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel are here to take your calls, so let's do it together. 0141 951 1025. An interesting day in the Premiership. Dundee United 2, St Johnstone 0, Hibs 2, Dundee 2, and Rangers 6, Ross County 0. Get all your calls over right now if you can, just like Frank in the city centre has done. How are you, Frank?
I'm not too bad, thanks.
How impressed were you with Rangers today?
It was 10 times better than what we've been watching since the beginning of the season. 2 wingers, the big boy for Aberdeen that we bought, he's he's going to be a right good buy because he can pass the ball all day, and if a player does that for you, the other players respond and you'll get something out of them. It was good to watch, but we're still short of 2 players. I think we still need a centre half and a dominant midfielder. That's what's missing. But as I say, that's the first time this season we've seen anything positive. Before the game, I was sitting looking around about me saying it doesn't get much worse than this. And then we've seen the game, and obviously the manager's been working in training with the players, and you can see the results at the end of the game. So it's not too bad at all. I'm feeling a lot better than I have been for the past few weeks.
As I said during the game, Frank, the game against Celtic is now livelier than it looked a couple of weeks ago, because you, like the other Rangers supporters, were staring at mediocrity and you didn't know which way to turn. And now today you've seen strong individual performances from Matondo and from Dessers, and all of a sudden going to Celtic Park doesn't seem the horror story it was a couple of weeks ago. I think that game, and who knows what will happen in the transfer window, in and out at Celtic and Rangers, I think that game is now worthy of an Old Firm derby, whereas before it looked like a one-horse race.
Gordon, what impressed you most today?
I think an all-round performance. I said earlier that Rangers usually get the one goal and then sort of a stutter over a line. They got the goals at an important time. Getting in 2-0 was a big boost, and I think that changed the manager's team talk. They come out in the second half, they kept their foot in the gas, they caused Ross County all sorts of problems. The front guys were lethal this afternoon. I think Rangers fans would have liked the movement, the goals, everything about it. Clean sheet as well. There's a lot to be happy with. Obviously the argument will be that Ross County aren't at their best just now, especially pitching up at Hampden after that disastrous result against Spartans last week. But Rangers just went about their business. They moved the ball sharper, they get players in the box, they scored some really good goals. So I think everybody concerned with Rangers will be absolutely delighted tonight.
Frank says, it's the best of the season, Mark, which is, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I was having a look at previous results, and just sort of very loosely and based on scorelines and my recollection of the games, 6 months ago today, Rangers beat Hearts 5-0, and so certainly scoreline wise, it's Rangers' most convincing result in exactly 6 months, and it probably is one of their best performances in the league in that time.
I would say so. I thought they started shabbily again and conceded that early chance or a couple of chances, but after that was out the way, I thought they were brilliant this afternoon. I really did. Best I've seen in a long time. What impressed me today, they're wide guys. I think they gave real width, creativity. They were positive every time they got the ball. Matondo obviously scored a couple, but it looked like they'd been working on that. It looked like when Tierney got the ball high and wide in one area, Matondo was in there. You saw Tierney doing the opposite when it was coming through the other side. And going back to what we touched on throughout the game, for years it was about shifting the ball to Barisic, and he would take one touch and flight it in for a centre forward to go and battle, and shift it to Tavernier, and he would do the same. But it looked like there was a real purpose and intent to get those wide guys further up the pitch, keeping their width, but then the opposite side getting them in at the back post, and it worked.
Frank, how important could that be for the likes of Rabbi Matondo? He doesn't start loads of games for Rangers, and then when he does, he'll come off and he's in and out, but to go and score 2 and set up 2 today, what did you make of him?
Well, if he can produce that every week, it would be great, but is he actually playing to get a move? Who knows? Only time will tell. He's certainly a skillful winger, there's no doubt about that. Whether he can do it consistently enough, that's a big question, isn't it? As far as next week goes, it's going to be a hard game for Rangers, but it's an all-firm game. Anything can happen.
It's an interesting point about Rabbi Matondo. I'm not saying that Frank's right and he is playing for a move, but such is the way Rangers are at the moment. It's not like everything just gets fixed today. There's still a lot of uncertainty, and Rabbi Matondo probably is. Well, he is still one of those players that Rangers would let go.
Yeah, for the simple reason that he's on an awful lot of money at Ibrox, and that
hasn't contributed enough. I think that's more so the reason.
Primarily, Rangers are in the business of getting rid of high earners and getting lower earners in. But I'm not sure now that you'd want to be rid of him. I know he's inconsistent,
but you cannot change your transfer strategy on an 80-minute performance. You couldn't do that. That's madness. But what it does show is that if he does stay around and if an offer doesn't come in, maybe there's something there you can work with.
Yeah, he certainly can add to the squad, there's no doubt. But I'm with you, Gordon. If an offer come in, a good offer next week for him, I think Rangers will be quite happy. Now, look, the lad was excellent today. You can't take anything away. But I think Frank's right. I think you've got to wait to see the consistency. He has to turn the performance. It's okay doing it against Ross County at Hampden. You've got to do that week in, week out. And he certainly had a terrific afternoon. 2 goals, 2 assists as well. Unlucky maybe not to get man of the match, but I think if an offer come in for him, money to get him out, I think it would be away as well.
I mean, Frank, there was a clean sheet as well. I guess it's another positive. There's the obvious caveat that it's Ross County. They're not going to threaten you that often. But was it the first performance in a while that it kind of ticked all the boxes?
That's the first performance that Rangers supporters have seen in 6 or 9 months, and that's being honest about it. I mean, today they looked comfortable on the ball, positive on the ball. They knew what they were doing. There was no hesitancy in the team. It just looked better, a lot better. Now, it's going to be a long season, and we're going to hit setbacks through the season. We just need to keep on producing the way they did today and giving it 100% and being positive, because it's all been negative round about Ibrox the last 6 months, and today it's given everybody a bit of hope that things aren't just as bad as people think they are.
Thank you very much to Frank for getting in touch on 0141 951 1025. I didn't in fact, you know what, let's just take more calls whilst we're at it. I was going to do something else, I got distracted. Let's just go back to the lines because George phoned in a while ago, so keen to get him on now. George is also a Rangers fan. How pleasing was it, George?
Hi guys, cheers for having me on. I was on last week as well, so thanks for having me on twice. I mean, it's Ross County. I'm no fooled by it. That's great going and bang 6 goals, but do that at Parkhead and Tynecastle where it matters. My point I was going to make to you guys, and just want your thoughts on it, was it's consistency with that Rangers team. It's horrific. And there's 2 pass marks, maybe 3. I mean, they've been in the team a while. It's Dezers and Sterling. I mean, they're always consistent. All right, Dezers misses a few chances, right? But he's consistent. Same as Sterling. See, the rest of them, it's depending on how they feel when they wake up in the morning. And I was going off my nut about the board last week, and it still stands. I think the board's disgusting. It's terrible what's going on. But away from that, it's not the manager. It's not tactics. I would say it's just down to pure consistency for these 8 or 9 players that aren't just doing it week in, week out. Across the city, they're doing it, no bother. I think that's the answer. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, across the city, as you call it, Celtic, they've got 3 titles in a row. And up until the sale of O'Reilly, they had a settled squad. So that's why it's been different. I was just thinking, Ross County was the day that Rangers changed last season. When they lost 3-2 at Dingwall that Sunday afternoon, and Philippe Clement was so stunned, he walked up the tunnel without shaking hands with Don Cowie. Rangers' progress came to a halt that day. They then went to Dundee and drew, and gradually went off the boil as Brendan Rodgers took Celtic to the title and won it by 8 points. Today is the first time since Ross County and Dingwall last season that Rangers have looked like Rangers, and now they have to take it into the game at Celtic Park, because there would be the psychological boost to end all psychological boosts if they beat Celtic.
George, of course you're right up to a point to say that it's Ross County and bigger tests will follow, but there must be more positivity to come from today than what you're showing.
What was that, sorry?
There must be something out there that makes you a bit more positive than what you've said so far. Of course, Ross County are not the toughest opponent, but it's not like Rangers won 2-0. It was 6. There was a lot of decent play. You mentioned you're still unhappy with the board, which is totally fine, because nobody's suggesting that changes with a win against Ross County. But is it really as doom and gloom as you're suggesting?
Aye, but Gordon, that's fair saying that, but it's just complete hot and cold. next week if we played Ross County, it could be a 1-0 effort. It's just, it makes no sense to me how we can annihilate teams like that, and when we all pull together we can demolish teams. We've all seen it.
I get that, but that shouldn't. Well, listen, who am I to tell George how to feel, Mark Wilson? But that shouldn't be enough to take away from just a job well done today. So if Rangers are inconsistent, there's no point in getting angry at the times when they get it right about the times that they don't, if that makes sense. Over the period of a season, fine, with a bit of reflection, but where Rangers have been up until 3 o'clock today, that's all they could have done.
Yeah, I think fans like George have obviously been frustrated for a long period, and especially over this opening start to the season. But you're right, when you get a performance, you should be maybe filled with optimism. George is probably thinking, well, it's papering over the cracks. There's still the problems there, and he's picked out players,
and he might be right. You only find out in time.
I would argue his case about consistency. Sterling, yes. Dessers, yes. But I would say Butland's been there at the start of the season. Didn't have a great pre-season, but at the start of the season made some important saves, and he's been consistent. I think Barron's been a brilliant addition. I think even today, when you see his energy in the middle of the pitch, that really drives Rangers forward. Yes, I'll agree with him, and other players have been inconsistent and let the club down and should perform better, but take it for what it is today, and it could be the launch pad for something much better next week. Like Hugh says, they may take a step back, but it's certainly better than what you've seen against St Johnstone, against Motherwell, the European games. They were okay times, but they were top notch today. And by the way, it could have been more than 6,
because that's where the "it's only Ross County" statement, as true as it may be, that's where that statement can be got at, Gordon, because it was only St Johnstone and it was only Motherwell. And go back, we're talking 6 months here since Rangers put in a performance as convincing as that. Rangers don't do this to teams, so that caveat exists up to a point, but there's still a level of credit due.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of credit due. I think the Rangers fans that were in at Hampden this afternoon would have enjoyed the football. I always went back to the fact that I didn't see a style of football. I seen a lot different from Rangers today. Scoring 6 goals, clean sheet as well. Mark touched on the wide players. They moved the ball a lot quicker, Gordon. So you can't just keep battering them with the same stick. You've got to put your hands up and say, okay, Ross County, everybody will say that. You've still got to go and do the job. They struggled at times against St Johnstone, Motherwell, teams like that. But today, I thought from the first whistle, yes, they get caught early on, but especially second half, it could have been a lot more than 6 for them, and I think you've got to give them credit.
Let's thank George and bring in Nadeem. How are you, Nadeem?
I'm good, thanks, Gordon. Yourself?
Not bad. You must be a bit cheerier about your team than you were maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one game. I get that, and previous call he alludes to that as well, so I totally put that into context. But I suppose my points were around. I spoke to Hugh, was it last week or maybe the week before, and Hugh was saying that there was a crisis at Rangers, and there was a complete lack of confidence, no style of play. So hopefully, Hugh, you can maybe see a bit more confidence in the Rangers players today, and you can maybe see a bit more style of play. Like I said, I think Mark alluded to earlier on, I can see, as a Rangers fan, I can see style of play, in terms of getting the ball to Matondo, getting Matondo and the wingers high up the pitch. You can see that, and if they can beat a man or two, get to the byline and get a cross in for Dessers, brilliant. If not, they can do it themselves and get a couple of goals today like Matondo did. So for me, there is absolutely no lack of confidence. You can see the boys, it helps when you get a good start like they did, but there's no lack of confidence, and I just hope that this can kick on and we do really well, and we beat Celtic in the next game. I hope so anyway.
First of all, I did not at any stage use the word crisis. You come on and accuse me of sensationalism, and I was putting it to you that the ones who were depressed were your fellow Rangers fans. I've also said all afternoon that this changes the whole look of the Celtic Rangers game a week tomorrow. I've said that this livens it up. It gives Rangers a sign of life, where before the fans were looking at mediocrity, mundanity, call it what you will. So I did not say crisis, and I have said it livens up next weekend's game.
Winning is one thing, Gordon, but I wonder if that is the most potentially important aspect, is that there did seem to be a bit more of a style today, because that that should be there whether you win, lose or draw. It should be there whether you play well or not. It's not something that's only there on the on the good days. You can still have a style, but it doesn't work for you on any given day. We've not really seen it from Rangers, but maybe today there were more signs.
I totally agree. We haven't seen it from Rangers, and I think a lot of Rangers fans would agree with that. Even the ones coming away from Hampden, they were different today. They were on it from the first whistle, Gordon. Especially, I thought second half they moved the ball really, really well. Caused Ross County all sorts of problems. Mark was right. They were getting it to the wide areas. They were getting good balls in. They were getting guys running. You've seen Tom Lawrence's goal, for instance, makes that run. Desser's the link-up play. There was a lot of positives there today. And also on top of 6 goals, you've got to say a clean sheet. That's what you want as well. Another one in the bag. They'll go to Parkhead certainly in a better place than they were maybe last week against St Johnstone.
I think Desser's got man of the match in the stadium. Nadeem, was Matondo robbed?
I mean, they both got 2 goals, didn't they, Gordon? So I suppose Matondo got 2 assists, so maybe. But I think when a striker scores 2 or so goals, he's generally going to get man of the match. But I just thought the whole team was brilliant, Gordon. I think everybody from the keeper all the way through was really good. I just hope we can take that into the next game and give Celtic a right good go at them. If you get beat, you get beat. But if O'Reilly goes, I'm not saying any crisis or anything, but if O'Reilly goes, that upsets their midfield. He's our best midfielder they've got. So if he goes, then that might just play into our hands for the next game.
Well, it certainly looks like he's going to. And Celtic fans, that might be a good cue for you to jump in. Matt O'Reilly, when we spoke to you last night at 8 o'clock, of course there was speculation, but we went away with the story not really having moved on. Last night it became clear that a bid has been accepted, a very big bid at that. This morning there were pictures emerging of him on a flight down south to go and sort everything out. So how do you feel about it, Celtic fans? Depressed at losing one of your best players, or taking an excellent piece of business on the chin? Do let us know, and we'll cover any other talking points that you fancy next.
The games are over. The talking begins. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboards Open Line.
Gordon Dalziel, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins are in the studio, all waiting for you to get in touch on the phones. We can look back on today's football. We're already up and running with talk of Rangers' performance. Is it the best this season? The best for the last 4 months, 5 months, 6 months? Who impressed you? Matondo, Dessers, anyone else? How does it set things up for next week? All of your thoughts and more, please, from Hampden. Might even be the final time Rangers play a league game there, but we wait to see on that one. Big games tomorrow, you can preview them. Celtic fans, it's really all about Matt O'Reilly, I would imagine. So how are you feeling with that situation? And anything else at all? Kevin Nisbet incidentally has signed for Aberdeen this evening. You're impressed with that signing?
Yeah, I think he'll do well up there. I think he's going to a good club, a club that's in the way up, and if they create chances, he will score goals for them.
I liken this to Lawrence Shankland. Shankland went to Belgium to play for Beerschot and nothing happened for him. It came back to Hearts. He's now the captain, the top goal scorer, the main inspiration. Nisbet, nothing doing at Millwall, but back up in Scotland, look out for him scoring straight away.
Of course, looks good on paper, depending what sort of shape he's in and how sharp he is. Like you would think coming back to this league that he knows, and he'll know some of the players he's playing against, and a very good Aberdeen team at the minute, it would suit him. So it looks a good sign at this moment in time.
Well, let's bring in James, who's a Celtic fan. How do you feel, James, about Matt O'Reilly probably moving on?
I think it's a good bit of business, obviously, by Celtic. I was listening to the Rangers fans that were on about 5 minutes ago there, and he was saying I just give him a go because he thinks it might be a bit bad for obviously Celtic because they've got rid of O'Reilly. I just think if they actually think about players that Celtic have got, like Bernardo, they'll get Awata, even putting Awata in and putting McGregor further forward. I just don't see what they can see why it would be bad against Celtic.
I think in fairness, right, see if a caller comes on and says Rangers are now favourites to batter Celtic because Matt O'Reilly leaves, I would be the first to disagree, James, but you would have to admit right now Matt O'Reilly's a Celtic player. If by this time next week he's not, that gives Rangers a slightly better chance, does it not? Even if it's very slight, you would rather have Matt O'Reilly in your team than not next week.
I would rather have Matt O'Reilly in my team. That's obviously because of the player he is. But they've got other players in the team that can just come in and not replace him, but play maybe just as well as him. That are in the team they know, that have been in the team, that know the team, how they play and stuff like that. So I see it being a big, obviously, it gives the Rangers a bit more advantage that he's no there, but they have got players that can come in for him.
James, you say it's a good piece of business by Celtic, and it undoubtedly is, added to many other good pieces of business which have given Celtic, by Scottish standards, a phenomenal, and I use the word advisedly, a phenomenal amount of money in the bank. However, a good piece of business means recycling the money, reinvesting the money. When Celtic take to the field tomorrow against St Mirren, they go with a weaker squad than they had last season because O'Reilly's off. And the manager wants success in Europe. He wants Celtic not to be embarrassed in Europe as they have been in recent seasons. And therefore he needs players of quality. It's only truly a good piece of business if the manager gets what he's been crying out for, additional quality. And Celtic now only have days left to get that in.
We could be splitting hairs. It's still a good piece of business right now. The next bit that Hugh says, we can't tell the future, so you'd have to wait and see. And then what James is right, if Paulo Bernardo is the man that replaces Matt O'Reilly, then it's an unbelievable piece of business because you've actually not had to go and splash, but you can only tell that in time. I think as it remains today, it is an unbelievable piece of business. You've simply got to wait. We've got no choice. We don't know what Celtic will do this week. They might sign 3 players. I take Hugh's point. If it takes you a while to get Ida and Schmeichel and whoever, that looks unlikely. Fine, it might be unlikely, but it's impossible to tell until we get there.
The only thing I'll say about getting Ida and people like that and Gordon, that was their number one choices, and they waited and they waited and they waited and they got them in. That's what Brendan Rodgers wanted. I know what Hugh's saying, and it's very hard to argue with him because I think he's right just now, but I would be astonished if Celtic, probably knowing this day was coming with Matt O'Reilly, I think there are obviously things behind the scenes. I think Celtic will have players in. I think they need more than just cover in the middle of the park. Bernardo, I think, is going to get better under Brendan Rodgers, long-term contract as well. That's why he brought him back. But I look at also defensively, especially for the Champions League. I look at cover for left back. I think that Celtic, I'd be surprised if Celtic doesn't do a lot of business, but it's always going to be hard to replace the quality of Matt O'Reilly. But they might just come up with a gem.
But because of the lack of time left, it'll be harder to do that degree of business.
But Hugh, you don't know what's going on. But listen, I've said it's very hard to argue with you, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Now, you're not telling me Celtic
it's the market moves quicker at the end, so every club does it because there's a chain reaction. So teams need to so if Celtic go for X player, that club then has to replace him. It just all heats up. History tells you that.
Well, I'll be back with you on Super Scoreboard next Friday, the day the window closes, and we'll see what they've done then, because
that's what I just said like 5 minutes ago. You will wait and see, but it does tend to heat up at the end of the window.
Well,
do you think that Celtic would have known this bit Brighton, right? I think we all second guessed what was going to happen. The minute a Premier League team comes in from England, no matter who it is, they've got the riches, they've got the money to go and splash out. So you're not telling me Brendan Rodgers and Celtic have been sitting in their hands going, well, do you know what, if Matt O'Reilly leaves, we'll just throw Bernardo in there and leave ourselves short.
Well,
I don't think that'll happen.
In a week you'll find out how Brendan Rodgers feels, because he's the one who has campaigned, banged on, repeated the same phrases over and over again throughout the summer, and so far it has gone without response. But we'll see what happens next Friday then.
James, are you confident you get business done?
Yeah, I think we will, but I don't want to be buying players just willy-nilly at the end of the season, at the end of obviously the windy. I want to be buying in quality. That's what Brendan Rodgers wants. He wants quality. I just don't want to be buying X, Y, and Z players and they don't obviously hit their ground running, basically.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers did say that yesterday, Mark, and I know he said it before, but underlined it. I think the phrase was, doesn't want players to, was it stiffen the squad, something like that. Wants it to be quality. So that's where I wonder about James's suggestion. It's almost like we've been hearing this for a couple of years now. Maybe a Wata can come in and Callum McGregor goes further forward. I'm not saying that can't happen. It doesn't strike you as Brendan Rodgers' idea of a proper solution. to Celtic's midfield?
No, because he wants to strengthen it. He wants it to get better. Of course, that's been done before and it looks fine, but are you taking any steps forward? I don't think you are. I think when Brendan Rodgers came back to Celtic, he would have had ideas of taking them forward, and that means forward in European competition. That doesn't mean really qualifying in this first attempt or second attempt. It means getting them much better, and he needs better players. But that's the sticking point. Who you end up with. I think Celtic will sign players, but when it comes down to the last week and you're maybe left with players that don't strengthen your squad, they just fill your squad, and before you know it, it comes to January or next summer and those players are going out again, then that's where the model falls down.
Because something that needs to be acknowledged, recruitment is tough. You know, they talk about if you can get 6 out of 10 right, that's seen as like a good, it's seen as a good return. It is. Celtic have done unbelievable with guys like Matt O'Reilly, but if you go for your 6 out of 10, Gordon, it's just no guarantee, even if you do spend a bit of cash, that the ones that come in are any better than.
No, and everyone, and Hugh highlighted it earlier, everybody knows Celtic have got cash. You know, there's agents out there. I keep going back to, I agree that it took 9 weeks for Adam Ida to come into the club, but that was Brendan Rodgers' number one choice, because they could have easily maybe went up to Pittodrie and spent the money on Majowski, but Brendan Rodgers wanted Ida into the building,
but
so they had to wait.
Nevertheless, Gordon, he's number one choice, yes, but it only takes you back to where you were the season before, because he was there the season before, I know, and so was Paulo Bernardo.
Hugh, I will stand here next week with you, and I'll either say you were 100% right or wrong. We have to wait till the window closes. I'll be astonished, and I'll take my hat off to you, I have, that if Celtic don't bring in few players this week, they must be sitting there ready to do.
See the thing with either one, right? It was already in the building, of course, and I certainly assumed that the sticking point was the transfer fee, and they were negotiating on that. Now, if it ended up, was it 9 million, maybe with add-ons? What was the starting price that Norwich was asking for, if that's what it was negotiated down to? That's what surprised me. Something so long, I truly expected them to come out of the Ida deal saying, we've got Adam Ida for £5 million. It's taken a while to negotiate that, but that's why he's not been here for 9 weeks. To pay £9 million.
Suppose the initial one on that was Norwich got a new manager, and he had to go back there and had to be seen to see how he fitted
but it's
in.
still a large, the finances maybe then should have been agreed. If he's coming, Norwich, okay, we've agreed something, £5 million. However, put the brakes on it, a new manager's here. But £9 million in 9 weeks, it's a long time.
Let's bring in John, who's in Drumchapel. How are you, John?
How you doing, guys? All right?
Not bad.
First time call, so good to be on.
What made you call tonight?
Just this Matt O'Reilly situation. When Brendan Rodgers came to, my point is when Brendan Rodgers came to the club last season, he took over Ange Postecoglou's team. They were playing well, playing a different style. So Rodgers has had them playing his style, which took them a bit of a while to bed in and get playing. But you see in pre-season and you see the start of the season how that team's really gelled. So Matt O'Reilly has a loss, but I believe that team's vastly improved. So I think we're strong enough domestically, not a problem. The question is always Europe. But I think we could expect improved performances in Europe also with that team, because I think that team's vastly improved since Rodgers took.
Yeah, I think it has. I always say that, Gordon, the show. Always remind people that to improve your team from one season to the next is not all about recruitment. If you can get 2% extra out of every other player in the team, you are a better team than you were. However, Matt O'Reilly's massive, so I don't know, if you add up everybody else's 1% and take out Matt O'Reilly's percentage, my head's spinning trying to count it up, but he that it's not like you can say take him out and it's still an improved squad from last season just because the rest have got a bit better. He's too big for that.
Yeah, you're taking one of your best players out, and that's why Premier League clubs come in, paid 25 plus for him, add-ons puts over the 30. I do agree. I think domestically, with the squad that they've still got enough there. The European campaign is going to be the big one, because they need cover, they need quality, they need better players, because we've seen it in the past, it just filters away and they don't do anything at all. Brendan Rodgers is certainly, we talked last season about sometimes it would be a bore fest. You know, people come on here regular and spoke about the football Postecoglou played. I think Brendan Rodgers so far, and it's early on in the season, but so far I think he's got Celtic playing some terrific football, interchanging, the pace they play at. He's got everybody in form, everybody a couple of yards quicker as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do tomorrow leading up to the Rangers game. But Matt O'Reilly, there's no doubt, no matter who you replace him with, he's going to be a big miss.
If the squad is much improved, and I will concede that some players might be better than they were last season, but if the squad is much improved, why does the manager go on talking about I need more quality, particularly with reference to Europe?
Well, you could still be better than you were individually last year, but still just want more and want to strengthen. I don't think those two are exclusive.
I think Brendan Rodgers speaks in numbers.
Yeah, he did say that. He said yesterday, to be fair, that that he done and Bernardo brings you back to where you were last season, numbers wise. He did say that,
and that's why he needs numbers with quality, and he's now down to days, not weeks left in the transfer window. Days.
John, I take it you'll be hoping that's the end of it. There was speculation about Kyogo. There's been a little bit about Hatate. Surely Celtic wouldn't let any more go, would they?
Yeah, no. Well, you'd like to think so, but listen, it's everything else at this time of the season. It's everything's a bit of hearsay. And listen, Matt Riley as a player, Brendan Rodgers improved him vastly. So we brought in Bernardo, who I believe is at this minute in time as a replacement for Matt Riley. Very similar in stature. And who's to say that Brendan Rodgers can't improve this guy? You know, everything's hearsay at the minute. Everything's gloom and doom. Oh, we've lost a top. Of course we've lost a top player, but we developed him into a top player.
I think that is worth bearing in mind. Matt O'Reilly was good for Celtic. Celtic were good for him, and he got better under Brendan Rodgers. Yeah. You couldn't argue that.
Well, he added to his game. More entries into the box, played higher up the pitch, certainly looked comfortable in the way Brendan Rodgers managed him. Was it Matt Riley actually said when Ange Postecoglou left about the kind of face-to-face interaction stuff that he really liked Brendan Rodgers' style? Has certainly brought the best out in him. So Brendan Rodgers has had plenty of stick since he's come back to Scotland, but player development shouldn't be an area where he gets sticking.
Hugh, whether he replaces O'Reilly or not, Paulo Bernardo, again, there's no real point right now. You wait in time. I suppose the one thing that might be of benefit is he's done it in this fixture that's coming up. He scored last season. He came on and created Adam Ida's winner. That's two sizable contributions in this fixture last season.
Yeah, Paulo Bernardo clearly is a player that Brendan Rodgers likes, wants at the club. Fair enough. My only point is there are other areas. A centre back for me is essential. Another striker, I think. Well, Kyogo has problems.
He said he won't sign another striker, or very unlikely.
Well, I think
he said Dalziel and Hugh Keevins is the third one. Said it yesterday.
Right, but he needs quality. He repeats it over and over again. And my intrigue where this is concerned is how much quality can you bring in a matter of days when you've allowed 3 months to pass and now you're down to days.
What do you think stylistically about the suggestion that Paulo Bernardo replaces Matt O'Reilly? He's not as good as Matt O'Reilly right now. Everybody knows that, so you're hoping Brendan Rodgers turns him into that. I've got no interest in making a prediction, but as a player, John's right in that they look the same. They're hard to tell apart a little bit on the pitch because of their hair and the way they wear their socks. But can he do that role?
Well, technically he's very good, of course. I think he matches O'Reilly in that respect. I just wonder if Brendan Rodgers can then put more focus onto him in a one-on-one situation like he did with Matt O'Reilly in terms of positions to play in the pitch. And I think Bernardo, when I see him play, I'd like to see him higher up the pitch a bit. There's a lot of ground to be made up from where sometimes he receives the ball to where O'Reilly would receive the ball, and that's why O'Reilly got so many goals and goal contributions. So maybe that's the difference. But O'Reilly just took his game to a different level under Rodgers. If he's given the opportunity and he gets a consistent run in the team, and I think that's key, a consistent run in the team, he might just deliver, but it's a big ask.
Okay, thank you to John. It's a good time to call 01419511025. We'll get reaction from Hampden after these.
Have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Hugh Keevins, Gordon Dalziel, Mark Wilson here, looking back on today's football, assessing tomorrow's action, talking Matt O'Reilly, Kevin Nisbet, various other transfers. There is a lot going on. Let's get some reaction to the game at Hampden with Don Cowie. Hopefully we'll squeeze Philippe Clement in before the end.
Yeah, really disappointed. Rangers were really good. When you give a good team space and time to hurt you, they'll do that. Just really disappointed that we managed to, allow it to get to the score that it finished. You can lose games of football, it happens. It's how you respond and react to that. You don't want to get into a habit of doing it, but this club has shown time and time again that we lose games of football, you react and go again, and that's what we'll do next week.
Cliche of you're not judged against Rangers and Celtic, really. If you lose 3 or 6, it doesn't make that much difference. They just need to stop a bit of a mini rot, Hugh. Going out the cup against Spartans is not acceptable. Losing to Rangers is, but 6 is a bit drastic, so they'll need to be careful.
Playoff place or automatic relegation. They're one or the other at the end of the season.
And there's a few contenders early on in the season that looks like, you have to say, but yeah, that's not been a vintage time for the Staggies. Let's bring in Ian, who's on the line. How are you, Ian?
I'm fine, thanks.
What are you thinking tonight?
I'm looking at the game at Parkhead next week, and I'm looking at a Rangers player called Jeffrey.
Yes.
He has a terrible habit of flying into tackles. He got 2 yellows against Kiev. He got a yellow in the game today. And in my opinion, it was extremely lucky late on in the second half not to collect the second one when he just barged straight in. Now, if you look at what we expect the pace of the game to be next week, this guy's a big liability to end up getting sent off the park.
Maybe, Gordon. It is going to be a test for Jeff. If Jeffy does play left back, and I think he will, we can maybe get stuck into this as the week goes on. It is going to be a test for him defensively. What you would say, he looks lively going forward. He's injected something into Rangers. It will be a completely different test.
And to be fair to him, we all agree that one of the yellow cards that got him sent off in the European campaign was disgraceful. I don't think he's the greatest defender in the world. I said earlier, I know that he's come in as a left back. I like him going forward. I like him in front of a left back, if you know what I mean. I think if you take the responsibility away of having to defend 1-on-1, I think going forward he's decent. He's got a nice left foot. He can go up and down the flanks. It'll be a really test his character next week, because you know that one thing Celtic are, they move the ball quickly, they play with a lot of width, they get their full-backs overlapping as well, so it is going to be a big test. But you can't sit here in a week to go and say, well, I'm a bit concerned. Anybody could fly into a tackle, anybody could have a rash decision that could put them in trouble, not just Rangers players but Celtic players as well, because this fixture can swallow you up sometimes. You've got to stand up to it.
If you ask the player whose career I have saved, Scott Allen, he will confirm to you that last night I said to him during one of the breaks in Super Scoreboard, I'm not sure I'd play Jeff Day at Celtic Park. I agree with Ian. I think he's prone to recklessness, and
just might not have much choice, so that's the only thing.
Yeah, I fully understand that, but for me, he would have the capacity to get caught up in it all at Celtic Park.
I think that's got to happen and play out before you make that kind of judgment. He's been sent off once, and Daz has just highlighted the second yellow card there.
I was actually talking more about
has
just
it been
defensively
that
rather than.
Look, if that's the case, and I've not seen a lot of Jeff, the analysis Daz gave is that he's really concerned, then that's a problem. That's a problem when you're recruiting a left back to play left back. If he can't play left back, if he's good going forward, only recent history will tell you Rangers have had problems defensively in that area. So if you're signing a left back to replace Barisic or compete with Yilmaz, You got to make sure he can defend.
Were there not a few more positives today, though, Ian, that would overshadow that stuff for Rangers in a positive sense?
I agree with you, but next week, a draw is a good result for Rangers. And to get the draw, they've got to keep 11 men on the park.
I agree with you, Mark. Predictions about people being sent off are very difficult. I don't know.
Yeah, especially in that fixture. We all know that. Well, Mark and I have played in it. You know how frantic it is, Gordon. You can't just look at players and think, oh, hold on a minute, I'm not going to play him because he might be getting sent off. Things just can happen in that fixture. He can get swallowed up in it. There's that, I've no doubt. Listen, if he is playing left back next week, the one thing is he'll need to be on his guard because he'll need to defend. Because you look at Celtic's wingers just now, they're banging form, they've got pace as well. You don't know who's going to be playing out on the right hand side against them. Kuhn has started the season brilliantly. Maeda can go out there where he plays through the middle or wide right. James Forrest has been brilliant in the last 8-9 months. So it's going to be a big test whoever plays there. But Hugh was saying he didn't think I think he's got to play him because that's the only person he's got available.
We'll need to save this stuff for midweek because Nicholas Kuhn might score 7 tomorrow and put in the best performance world football's ever seen. He might get sent off tomorrow and be suspended for the game next weekend. So we'll wait and see. Let's see how that plays out. We can get stuck into who should play and who shouldn't, who are the strengths, who are the weaknesses. It's all the fun of a week like next week on shows like this. So make sure you catch us every night from 6 o'clock. I don't know if we've got Philippe Clement's thoughts yet. Maybe he's enjoying himself, celebrating that win at Hampden. Not seen anything coming through from him yet, so we'll do it if we can before the end of the show. Good game at Easter Road, a share of the spoils. Hibs needed just to avoid defeat, didn't they? I don't think it's enough to send anyone deliriously happy on their way home, Hugh, but needed just defeat would have been
the pity for David Gray and all those associated with him was that Dundee scored so late in the game to make it 2-2. That always feels like a victory for the team that get the goal that late in the match, even though it only creates a draw, and it upsets the home fans who were looking forward to celebrating a win. So we have David Friel's word for it that the Hibs players left to jeering. So that's the effect of a late goal. But I would imagine Tony Docherty, the Dundee manager, and David Gray will be fairly happy with a share.
I think David Gray probably will be a little bit upset the fact that he's looking for that first one. He's looking to get a little bit of pressure off his back. He goes 2-1 up and you're at home. Okay, Dundee are a good side and they're doing very well, and Tony Doc's got them well organised, good players as well. And it just adds the pressure again for next week because you really want to get your first win and try to get a bit of momentum into the game, into the place. So I think David Gray will probably be a little bit more upset than Tony Doc because Dundee away from home, getting a valuable point, coming from 2-1 down. But Hibs are still, they're still looking for their first win of the season.
Yeah, Tony Docherty, I'll just tell you briefly, spoke after the game, spoke about Luke McCowan, hopes to keep him, but we'll see. Don't know what that means, but again, want to watch
sound good
in the closing stages of the.
It's not the kind of money that Hibs can turn down. The last bid that Dundee, the last bid that Hibs made was £750,000. So I'd imagine if they topped that up a bit, they could get him.
You just leave his boots at Easter Road, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Leave the car.
Pick it up on Monday. Let's hear from Stephen Robinson ahead of the visit of Celtic tomorrow.
Listen, Brown were an excellent team, very, very similar styles of football. Celtic have proved over time, they're a really tough opposition. With Real Caldy, they started the season as always really well. They've got a fantastic manager in Brendan, so we know what the task is. We know how we have to play to get a result. We've got results. We've played very, very well. We've taken Celtic all the way on lots of different occasions, and little bits of indecision or tiredness or maybe just sheer quality in the end has undone us. But we want to make a really good game of it. We believe at home we are a match for anybody, and we go in with a large amount of confidence.
Mark, let's try and view it. Well, let's quickly touch on Matt O'Reilly again. Is it as simple as Paulo Bernardo plays in his place tomorrow?
I should think so. That's why you sign him.
Other elements of the Celtic team have largely been picking themselves, although Kyogo, I guess. Has he come back?
Well, that's area of interest, not only this week but for next week as well. But at least you've got Maeda, at least you've got Ida there that can replace him. Two very good replacements for Kyogo. The rest of the team, Gordon, why would you touch him?
Start Ida tomorrow? For a view of looking at Sunday?
Again, it depends what Brendan Rodgers sees St Mirren as. If he needs the game stretched and people in behind, you'd start Maeda if Kyogo's injured.
To make a very loose comparison, you're thinking Rugby Park at the end of last season, aren't you?
Yeah.
Sort of similarly well organised team, tough to beat, one of our harder teams to beat away from home. Maybe it is an Adam Ida day.
Perhaps, but I think Maeda's had success there, hasn't he? When he's played at St Mirren before, and that might just sway him in his favour. Who knows? He's got good options in that area. But Bernardo, if you're not going to play him tomorrow, why have you brought him to the club when O'Reilly's out? You've brought him in there to play in there. He's played in there before. He's added quality. I remember him having a decent game there as well last season around Christmas time, I think. So I think he would be the natural replacement. But Celtic just have to keep ticking along. It's great being in a team when you're playing like that, and it just keeps flowing.
If you look at what Brendan Rodgers said yesterday, he said that Kyogo was looking comfortable and had been fabulous in training for the last couple of days. Therefore, on that basis, you'd play Kyogo, unless the words Manchester and City come into the equation.
2 first choice strikers, they said. Could be Adam Ida, we will see. But it should be a big day in the Scottish Premiership. That's just one of 3 games. You're going along to Motherwell and Hearts.
Yeah, great
look
classic. See all the Motherwell fans there. Look forward to it.
Aberdeen Kilmarnock as well. So whatever happens, we don't yet know if Matt O'Reilly's definitely going to be a Brighton player. It's heading that direction. We've got results to happen, transfers to happen, and it's all shaping up to be a bumper Monday on Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Make sure you join us then from 6 o'clock, and the GBX is up next.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast.
With Lucas Volvo. The full electric range is now available on Motability.
Meet Sage Copilot, your new AI productivity assistant that understands natural language so you can get straight to what you need.
Copilot, draft emails to chase unpaid invoices.
So, if you're a baker, like Diana, it could mean spending more time on what really matters. That's more carrot cake she can bake. Small businesses could save 4 days a month on financial admin. Search Sage Copilot to get early access today. Sage, helping business flow.
How exciting is it to play the British Heart Foundation's weekly flutter? Ka-ching! Exciting enough to get your heart racing. Just a little bit. Like texting a mate. The same time they text you. Like flipping pancakes with majestic grace. Or spotting that last parking space. Yes! With the added joy of knowing the money you donate helps to fund life-saving research. £1 to play, £1,000 to win every week. Search British Heart Foundation Weekly Lottery. See? It's a little bit exciting.
Gamble responsibly. Over 18s only. T's and C's apply. Please see our website for more details. British Heart Foundation is a registered charity.